Yeah, we got Donald Trump coming into California, and I'm out. Like he literally came because he knew. He came because he knew I was leaving. I was like, like he's not slick, dude. He's not okay. Let me explain something to you, okay? He ain't slick. It's like, bro, I know you wanted to come in and you didn't want to check in with me, right? You didn't want to check in with me. That's why you came in. Like, it's not you ain't slick. Like the moment that I leave for the first time ever, for the he was like worried because I'm always in Los Angeles. He was worried. He's like, when can I go? You know what I mean? When can I go? Denim's raid. Hey, thank you. Oh, you Gopnik raid. Hey, you Gopnik Twitch. Thank you for the raid. Hope you had a good stream, brother. I'm over here in Tokyo right now. It's 5 a.m. like a freak. I'm live. I'm alive. We got a lot to talk about. So, all right, let me blast off real quick. Hold up. Hold up. Here it is. All right. Trump is in my backyard because he knows I'm in Japan. Disaster relief efforts. FEMA. Kidding. But yeah, personal news wise, dude, I'm all over the place right now because it's still a little too early in the morning. But basically, hold on. What? Every cop is an ICE officer? How? Decades old, never before invoked legal authority to permit them to authorize building state and local enforcement carry any of the powers and privileges of ICE. Holy shoot! What the hell? White Club IRL / fishing in Japan. That's crazy. If nobody fucks with you, I know that there's a million different blast off memes. I know that they're out there. Okay. All right, I got one. Trump left because I left Cali. No, Trump came to California because I left California. Which district in Japan would you recommend one should stay? I mean, I have not really been that much outside of Tokyo, so I can't give you anything else. Okay, here it is. Trump is in my backyard because he knows I'm in Japan. Disaster relief efforts for Trump is FEMA getting cut. Cops are now ICE. Fight Club IRL and fishing in Japan later. Okay, yeah. It's officially day 4 of Burger Reich, but before I get into all of the Burger Reich related activities, as I was saying, this is my personal news time, even though he blasted off, and I just wanted to show you the situation here, okay?
How's it feel to be back opening a Sando?
So now you gotta make the combo. This is the dark magic right here.
Tokyo is a prefecture. Shut up, nerd.
Do you gangbang? Throw that on there.
Let me get in.
This feels like an American invention, but I'm with it.
Is that the TikTok no one liked? Yeah, this is the TikTok no one liked.
That's the first thing that he gave me when we came in.
We just got to Japan. The first thing we had to do was, of course.
I mean, it's 60 seconds. It doesn't have like an ending. I get it. Maybe it's not the best, but go like it anyway. I digress. Okay. But other than that, here's Caroline who captured me eating it afterwards.
I finished mine.
How do you, wait, did you inhale?
You're moaning.
Can we watch you shop for clothes you can't wear today? No, but I did do that. I did literally go out and look for clothes and I couldn't fit in any of it. It is pretty crazy, I think. Fuck. Is this not charging? Oh, shit. I'm so cooked. I have to do a couple different things. God damn it. Why are you wearing a grandma sweater? This is my favorite sweater of all time. What are you talking about? Oh, you talking about this one. That's another fan favorite. Yeah, I didn't fit into anything. We went to our special curry spot. Japanese curry spot, and it was a lot more welcoming to gaijin this time around than the last time we were out there, which was, I guess, a little disappointing because I think in Japan, you know, it's the cardigan is La Mer. In Japan, I think like the food is best served with a side of anti-white racism. Remember the last time I came to Japan and I talked about how like it's awesome that they do like anti-white racism here, and then it's really unique because like if you're white, you basically have to travel to a different country to experience racism like a tourist. And a lot of people canceled me for saying that, but it's like probably one of my best takes. Yeah, I get like disappointed if they're not. I get disappointed if they're accommodating. I'm gatekeeping Japan, dude. It needs to be isolationist. I'm a Japanese isolationist. Okay. I'm a Japanese isolationist who believes that Japan must continue being uh, Japanese and xenophobic, because if they open up their borders too much, they're going to be more accommodating at the curry restaurants, and I hate that. I want my Japanese curry to be delivered to me with a side of anti-white racism. Yeah, it's Wano, okay? No, no opening up Wano to the rest of the world government, okay? Shut it down. Shut the Wano shit down, okay? We're done. We're done with that. Anyway, yeah, Odin was wrong, dude. Odin was wrong. Well, he was right. Odin must be boiled, okay? But sometimes maybe he was cooking a little too hard, okay? He was boiling it a little too hard. Odin. Anyway, yeah, build the wall. Build a wall around Japan, except there is a wall. It's, I guess, water. It's called being an island. Only anti-white racism, or what about other races that want to experience? I mean, they're probably, yes, Japan is most likely racist to every other race as well. The point I'm trying to make is that for white people, it's a unique experience, okay? For white people, that level of like xenophobia and discrimination is genuinely a unique experience. So it's kind of fun, you know, in some ways. You call the Japanese man senpai, Bakagaijin behavior? Yeah, I'm being a fucking dickhead on purpose. Sata senpai? Dude, he was so wonderful. For a second, I closed my eyes and imagined like what life must be like for him. You know what I mean? I'm over here, Mr. Godzilla. Okay, this dude works. This dude works at a grill. Okay, it was so funny. I was like, "What kind of food do you make?" And he said, "Japanese." I was like, "Yeah, okay." No, literally, I was trying to make conversation with him. I don't know if you guys heard me, because I was fascinated. This dude is just like, I want to know what his life looks like. You know what I mean? What's up? You just like come here and you play crane games after work? Like, that sounds crazy. But I guess it's fun. It's like this is my man's fun, you know? He was just pumping his Suica card. He was pumping it for us too, for our sake, for our pleasure. Who didn't for those of you who didn't see that, I'm talking about on Will Neff's stream. Because that's what we did after the curry without the side of racism, which, you know, still tasted delicious, but not as good because racism makes it better. Obviously, everybody knows this. After the tamago sando and the curry without a side of racism, I was working on fixing Will Neff's bag by talking to the same people, the same company, because Caroline had gotten a bag for herself and for Will. While Will and March were dicking around playing Pokemon Go, me and Caroline were in the goddamn trenches. I'm literally talking to like unlimited IRL. I'm talking to like America, okay? And we're like in real time giving access to these people so that they can like fix the bag and like troubleshoot it, while Will and March have their thumbs stuck in each other's assholes playing Pokemon Go, okay? And then this motherfucker had the audacity to say, I gave up on the bag. I lost my mind, okay? That was crazy. Like, at a point, I literally looked up at Caroline. I was like, Caroline, is this for your stream? And she was like, no, this is for Will. And I was like, wait, why are you and I doing this? And she was like, it's because he doesn't know how to do any of this stuff. Yeah. Anyway, I'll take unbelievably now a rabbit hate watcher. Okay. So, is that the worst fight you two have had? No, that's not a fight either. What are you talking about? Where was I? Oh yeah. I in the process, I also went to try and get some clothes. We went to the Yoji store because Yoji's never actually hurt me before. You know what I mean? Like, Yoji Yamamoto is my goat. He always has like big enough clothes, but this time Yoji failed me a little bit. Like, goddamn Twink March, always ready to go. Found some great clothes for himself. I couldn't get shit out here, bro. I couldn't get shit. Sick to my stomach, fam. Brother, you were wrong about Trump. Your claims about Trump were wrong with JFK assassination. What happened? Did everything get revealed? Like, all of the details? And not like just a sliver of information that will keep investigative reporters up at night? Now we know who actually 100% killed JFK. Is that what you're saying? How many egg sandos have you consumed so far? Only one. Yeah. What was I saying? What was I talking about? There was something else. We're going to the store. Might be cool to check out. Nah, maybe. But, bro, what is happening? Do you know who Willem Altman is? Do you like Wacko Maria? What are these what are these like? These chatters bringing up? What are you guys bringing up? I have no idea. It's got to be closed, right? It's got to be closed. Wacko Maria? What the hell? Someone I feel like is making that up. But yeah, no clothes so far, but it's okay. I brought one bag on purpose. Because on the second bag, I'm planning on getting just a bag full of drip, dude. Because I'm a skinny boy now. Even though it doesn't matter, like I'm not a real skinny boy. You know what I mean? It sucks. I thought I was a skinny boy, but I'm not a skinny boy by Japanese standards still. Like I still don't fit in the shit, even though I'm like much smaller this time around. You know? During his visit to a market yesterday, Xi told a little girl who gave him candies, "I'm glad to accept your candy. You are the hope for our future. Eating your candy fills my heart with sweetness, and I hope your life will be as sweet as candy. You are rich enough to pay for custom-made clothing. You should see if you can have an appointment with one of the Japanese designers and get your measurements taken." Dude, chatters are so funny. Chatters be like, "Hey, why don't you literally get like famous Japanese designers? Why don't you invite yourself to Yoji Yamamoto's home so he can actually give you a proper fitting? You're rich enough." Yes, dude, I'm literally the god king of mankind, okay? Like the world revolves around my fingertips. You don't understand. I have unlimited money and unlimited clout. That's just how it works. Egomaniac? No, I'm being sarcastic, man. I can't do any of those things. Like, you guys greatly overemphasize how much clout and how much power I have. Like, you overestimate it. That's my point. Y'all are crazy sometimes, man. This is one of those times. Like, I don't have that motion. What are you, crazy? You're in Japan and can't even get Bape? Shaking my head. I am ashamed. I'm joking. Yeah, I don't really like Bape that much. But yeah, this was Sato-sama. Sato senpai.
Yep.
Oh my god! He's insane! Oh my god! Oh my god! Respect.
Oh my God, dude.
Respect.
No, Sano, that's yours.
That's yours. Yours.
No!
He's so funny. He was just the GOAT, dude. My man just working at Yakitori, and then someone said Starbucks question mark. Bro, he don't got internet. He's Japanese, bro. What do you want me to do? Yell at a fucking Japanese, not like, dude, yell at a Japanese kitchen guy, like a Japanese chef, okay? After a long day of serving tourists, dumbass tourists like myself, he's not doing BDS. Girl, the boycott. Sato-sama. Bro, your fit is ridiculous. Why are you wearing those Gen Z pants, you in your 30s? Why are you jealous of my swag, dude? Does it look good or not? That's the question. Head to Ometo Sando Hills for local labels like Yoji. I'm a Japanese designer under the name Joe Baden. I'll make you custom clothing for free, but it will all be bad and threadbare.
Oh my god! We are gaijin. We are Baka gaijin.
Starbucks isn't on the BDS list? Yeah, it's not even like full BDS. I don't know. It's so stupid. Fits hard, chugs hard, JW pants hard. Ayo, thank you. You know what's crazy? Like my fits have improved dramatically. They have improved dramatically over the years, and yet people still find it within them to talk shit. And I think it's because, like, it's just not for everybody.
For saying me, you're so dead to me.
Because they improve because you got skinnier. No, like being skinnier is not the reason. I just had more versatility in the things that I could fit into. That's what helps with being quote unquote skinnier. It's a lot harder to find things that fit you, but you can still find things that fit you well,
He's remembering each username.
It seems like you're mad at the truth because Chad knows we are Japanese.
The Japanese were walking by. I heard you say that. And just
If we can stream in the claw game thing, here's the game. Whoever has to spend the most money to win one of the claw games.
okay, well, there's an ATM right there.
I have
Dude, we had so much fun. We did claw games. We got drunk. We did claw games. We got drunk. We played darts. I lost. and I lost last second in the first round to this asshole, okay, and then I got last place in the second time we played darts. It was annoying. And then we had dinner last night.
There's no way. Are you just wandering around Japan?
That's crazy.
You were drinking in the morning? This isn't the morning, man. This is the afternoon. But yes, I was drinking in the afternoon, which is normal. And yeah. Last night, did you see Ms. asked if you could also bring a sister to Japan? Are you gonna meet up with Blau and Fusi and Co? Potentially. I don't know. I feel like their days are so slammed. Japan has every single arcade game. They probably have a game in which the angrier person wins. Finally, a game Hassan would be good at. Name one Led Zeppelin song. This is not even a Led Zeppelin shirt, dumbass. It's a Def Leppard shirt. Oh, you couldn't even be annoying correctly. That's funny. What is this? President for 24 hours, you would abuse your powers? I would. Absolutely. You want to know what I would do? The entire country is going to be webbed with high-speed rail. Medicare for all. It's done. Healthcare, no longer for profit. We're implementing the largest building initiative you've ever seen. We're changing the U.S. military into a construction job, okay? Instead of carrying around heavy equipment to go and like kill, I don't know, 17-year-old brown children overseas, now you're lugging all that shit to build houses. We're building public housing. And also, if you are a billionaire and you have an issue with this, you're going to jail. Yep. Not based enough. It should be guillotine. If he was president for 24 hours. Make it illegal to have personal net worth above 50 million. Anyone who has more than 100% of it sees you are not having $50 million. You will never be happy. House 2028. Screw shaky Gurga. Have you ever considered anything in government? No. Where'd you get your sweater, Pookie Poo? This is a Y3 sweater I got in England many, many years ago, and I've been wearing for many, many years at this point. Y3 is like the sport wear version of Yoji Yamamoto. That's, I think, under the umbrella of Adidas, or they collaborate with Adidas. I don't know. But yeah. Can you link that TikTok? I just reposted it. Meet up with Shigeru Ishiba. The only Shigeru I care about is Shaky Shigeru Gurga-san. All right. Why? What is this? Oh, chat. That's why it's like weird. CBS may be reaching a legal settlement with Trump because he didn't like how a campaign interview with Kamala was edited. Really? If CBS caves, the belief that we have an independent media protected by the First Amendment is undermined. CBS stand tall, support the Constitution. Yeah, I don't know if, I don't know if there is such a thing as the Constitution any longer. All right, let's get started on Mr. Trump, okay? Donald Trump. Donald Trump. He is attending Hurricane Helene recovery briefings in Fletcher, North Carolina.
People, pretty much okay. It's a lot of people. 104 people lost their lives. 73,000 homes were severely damaged or destroyed. And I'll tell you, I've been to a lot of them, and this was like lots of hurricanes in one. I've never seen such damage done by water. And the water came.
It was the wettest from the standpoint of water.
It was violent, and it left, and there was like nothing left. It's really pretty amazing. At one point, half of the emergency calls to FEMA went unanswered. That's real bad. FEMA was not doing their job. The city of Asheville went without running water for 2 months. A whistleblower testified that some FEMA employees refused to help people who displayed Trump signs on their property. I think that's true.
You want to know what's really funny about this? Like, this did happen, but like, there is something kind of wild that although there were some insane FEMA people that were like, yeah, fuck these Trump supporters or whatever. No. I think that there was like one guy. I mean, it happens, dude. What do you mean? Like, FEMA is just like every other agency comprised of normal human beings. Sometimes there's going to be a person who's an asshole, okay? And they were fired, right? But the point I'm trying to make is that not only was it a thing that happened, it was funny because every single person that was a Trump supporter leading up to that moment was literally like, we should kill the FEMA workers. Like before there was like some random, Biden head, dark woke as they're calling it, guy who literally decided like, yeah, I'm with FEMA and I don't want to help Trump supporters. They already were like, if FEMA comes FEMA comes down the neighborhood. Let's kill him. That is a lie, but keep going. Y'all mauling every day about this. First of all, your life has to be incredibly sad, even though your God, King, Lord, and Savior, Mr. Donald Trump, actually became president, and you still suck dick. Like, your life still sucks so much dick and balls every single day, where you're like, okay, nothing changed. Egg prices have not gone down. Okay. As a matter of fact, they've gone up. Why am I so upset right now? Let me go tune in to a content creator who I despise. Okay. Let me go tune into a fucking content creator who I despise, so I can actually at least feel a little bit better about myself. And if he calls me out, I'm going to feel embarrassed about that. So I'm going to turn around and say, I didn't vote for Trump, actually. So you're just what? You're just LARPing as a Trump fan? Is that what it is? You're just LARPing as a Trump fan, like as a Trump fan whose life is actually in tatters, and that's why he had to come in here and be like, keep coping, libtard. You know, I think there is a low to the low. You said everyone who likes wanted to kill them. Okay, bro, I can't have a conversation with no. We're done. Autism is now no longer allowed. I'm ableist. I'm the only one who's allowed to be autistic. Okay, you are not allowed to be autistic in the chat. If you have no capacity to understand context or jokes or embellishment, okay, exaggerations, like, no, I don't think every single Republican wanted to, with arms, kill FEMA people, okay? When I explain things like that, I'm not being 100% accurate because I'm fucking joking, okay? I'm sorry, you are too autistic to chat in the chat if you don't understand something as simple as that, okay? You're banned. Autism is now banned in the chat. That's it. Only I get to be autistic, not you. Motherfucker said, where's your tone indicator, dude? Excuse me. I don't think every Republican was out with weapons trying to kill FEMA officers. Okay. Yeah, no, I know. That's not the truth. Why are you yelling so softly? It's 5 a.m. I'm in a fucking hotel. I can't yell loudly. People are sleeping. Twitch streamer cures autism with one statement. I can't believe that motherfucker literally said, I don't think it's true that every Republican wanted to kill FEMA people. Yeah, no shit, dumbass. It's not BDS if it's in a glass. This coffee, old coffee from yesterday. This is what I mean. Okay, you're banned too. No more. Dude. I think you should write this multiple times more. Former co is planning to drop a 2-hour takedown on you and uploading onto all channel. This is unhinged. Dude, I didn't get the message. What is happening? Can you explain to me one more time what's going on? 4 co-hosts thinks you want his house to burn down via his Insta story. The delusion. This guy just every now and then is like, Project Zomboid, and then is just like updating me, I guess, on what my former podcast co-host is doing. Soldiers, let it go, please. It's okay. You know what I mean? It's all right. I'm trying to live my life, man. I'm trying to live my life. I'm in Japan. I don't give a shit. Anyway, and y'all thought Megaphonics spam? Megaphonics, you just used your own. You can't try to start a spam chain to be like, and y'all thought Megaphonics spammed? Your name is right there. Everybody knows you're trying to. Why are you speaking about yourself in third person? What the hell's going on? Anyway, where the frick was I? I totally forgot what we were talking about. Oh, yeah. What's funny about the situation is so many right-wing Republicans got duped by conspiracy theories online, okay, in order to be as hyper-specific as possible. There were a lot of conspiracy theories in the aftermath of this disaster in North Carolina. Those conspiracy theories were completely ridiculous. They were made up, right? Obviously. Conspiracy theories such as like FEMA's going to come and actually buy your house out, okay? Like, don't take any disaster relief funds from FEMA because they want to buy your house. Or that, there was obviously like, FEMA weather machine is the reason why these natural disasters took place. And also that they were not allowing the real patriotic citizens from like, I don't know, Patriot Pair or whatever to distribute goods to the disaster sites. FEMA was not allowing them to do that because they just had some like, really crazy, secretive and possibly anti-conservative perspectives, and that's why they were doing that. So like there was a lot of antagonism against FEMA on the ground from a lot of Republicans. And then there literally was a freaking FEMA guy who was like, yeah, fuck these Republicans. Yeah, like, I'm sorry. That's pretty funny, okay? That is pretty hilarious that on the one hand, you got people on the ground who are like, FEMA wants to kill us. Don't come near my house. You're going to bomb my house. I'll kill you. And then there's a FEMA guy who literally is like, we should just not help Republicans. It's completely unacceptable, okay? Just make no mistake. It is completely and utterly unacceptable, okay? Your job is disaster relief. There is no politics in that circumstance. So, like, this libbed up Dark Brandon head going, I'm just not going to help people if they're Trump supporters is insane. But still pretty funny. It's a funny situation because Trump supporters hate FEMA and right-wingers hate FEMA and talk about how FEMA is going to come to like steal their houses and kill them. Yeah, dark woke as they're calling it on Twitter.
And I read that. It's not nice. That's not too nice, is it? But whoever those property people were, thank you very much. Michael, is that true? That's not good, huh? About the
That's not good, huh?
property owners, you put a Trump sign on and they wouldn't help. FEMA. Earlier this year, FEMA kicked 2,000 North Carolinians out of their temporary housing into below freezing temperatures. What was that all about? Is that...
What is this, bro? Just wait till that nuke drops. Finally, the world will know you indeed never fucked my mom or other chatters' moms or my dad, of whom you also claimed got drilled by you. I have testimonies from hundreds of chatters, mothers, and fathers at this point. Good luck, chump. Please don't ban. I worked hard on my wording, and it caused this chat to be irrelevant. What? Water came, and it did what it does, which is terrible. I love water. I drink water almost every day, in fact. Too much, my doctors say. But I know what's best, and water is good. But this water was very bad. Probably the worst water in the history of the world. That's really good. That's fire. A lot of people are saying this water came because North Carolina wanted to turn blue. And God wanted to punish North Carolina. Trump impressions are so back. I know. I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't. Because my Trump impression is never that good. But it's hard. It's hard for me not to do it because he just has such an awesome... He's so swagged out, dude. Barack Obama is dating Jennifer Aniston. Check Instagram, New York Post. Dude, I've heard these conspiracies before. It's fantastic. Yes. For those of you who don't know, Barack Obama, when he's not getting his shit sucked sideways by Larry the Hoover in Gary, Indiana, specifically after doing methamphetamine that he secured for Larold. Yeah, he's piping up. He's piping down. He's busting down Tatiana style, having kinetic sexual activities with Jennifer Aniston. Yeah. Yeah, the Duluth Dyson sucks his shit sideways, and he's like, I love doing crack cocaine and getting my penis sucked by a man with no teeth, but I still need pussy too. Yeah. And then he goes and then he's like, Jennifer, I loved you in Friends. It's in my top 5 all the time. You know, it's Jennifer Aniston from Horrible Bosses. I get it. The flimsy theory, my flimsy theory is that Obama and Aniston are no smokers and one of them bummed one and then they fucked. Yeah, except these are human beings. And also there's a lot of people who smoke cigs, man. Like, that's crazy to assume that like, oh, they're both smokers, so they must have had sex after smoking cigarettes next to one another one time is such a funny conspiracy theory. I don't know how to like, I just don't know what to say about that. I don't know how that works.
You know about that? What happened? Tell me.
We had an incompetent administration under Biden, and we had a disaster, and we call it the disaster after the disaster. That was the FEMA response.
You had nothing but disaster since then. It doesn't matter at this point. Biden did a bad job. Some residents still don't have hot water, drinking water, or anything else, and many of them don't have quarters. They don't have anything. They got a stipend for what they lost, and we're going to take care of it. This is totally unacceptable, and I'll be taking strong action to get North Carolina the support that you need to quickly recover and rebuild. We're working on it very hard, and I think if Michael Whatley does half as good a job in North Carolina as he did for my campaign, we'll be very happy. Him and Laura were a very powerful team. So you think you can handle it, Michael? I don't know. I'm not sure, Michael. I think this is maybe in many ways easier, okay? Maybe easier. But you're going to lead the team. Do you want to say who the congressmen are that you want to appoint? Do you want to introduce them?
We have Virginia Fox, Chuck Edwards, and Tim Moore, whose districts encompass the area.
And they are the districts that were most severely impacted, right? You were affected then, Virginia?
Yes, lost my own driveway.
Really? No. I'll also be signing an executive order to begin the process of fundamentally reforming and overhauling FEMA, or maybe getting rid of FEMA. I think, frankly, FEMA is not good. I think when you have
That's crazy.
problem like this, I think you want to go and...
He wants to privatize disaster relief. That's amazing, dude. Dude, America is in the cool zone, baby. Excellent. Excellent stuff. Yeah. I'm always thinking, how can we make this shit worse? And that look at a time of unparalleled crisis, born out of anthropogenic climate change, perhaps the best thing you can do is, like, I don't know, relegate FEMA to Mr. Beast. Okay? I don't even know how much worse you could get. Like, this is awesome, you know? That's right. We're giving it to Beastables. Going forward, if you want disaster recovery, you need Mr. Beast to come to your town and shoot the YouTube videos. He loves it. Barron tells me all the time. Barron knows so much about social media. You know, Barron is the reason why I went on TikTok. Barron loves Mr. Beast. He's doing FEMA. That's right. If you want disaster relief, you need to jump through some hoops. It's okay. It's good. It's good content. It's television. Mr. Beast is saving television. He's made $500 million per episode for Amazon. You know I hate Jeff Bezos. I don't like Amazon, but I love Jimmy Donaldson. He's going to be the government now. Folks, only the survivors get to deserve the FEMA credits. Yeah. Jimmy Beast. Let's try to rate it elementary school. Nice, dude. Nice. Real cool. Every day we stray further and further away from God, okay? Notice how only the bad parts of the government, the violent enforcement mechanism, is in the hands of the government, and it is the only adequately funded aspect of the government, and yet none of the things that the government is supposed to do in terms of taking care of the average citizens, like, for example, FEMA, all of that stuff is constantly in a state of underfunding and also routinely threatened by private interests, by privatization initiatives like the ones that Donald Trump is pushing for right here. Just something to consider. I don't know why the only stuff that the government is supposed to do are just, like, you know, violent enforcements of white nativist sentiment and never, like, disaster relief, right? Cool.
Whether it's a Democrat or Republican governor, you want to use your state to fix it and not waste time calling FEMA, and then FEMA gets here and they don't know the area, they've never been to the area, and they want to give you rules that you've never heard about. They want to bring people that aren't as good as the people you already have. And FEMA's turned out to be a disaster. And you could go back a long way. You could go back to Louisiana. You could go back to some of the things that took place in Texas. It turns out to be the state that ends up doing the work. It just complicates it. I think we're going to recommend that FEMA go away. And we pay directly, we pay a percentage to the state. The state should fix this. If the state did this.
That's crazy, man. Bro what's the equivalent here? You know what I mean? It's like saying, you know what's the issue with war? The vest, the Kevlar vest. We just gotta take these Kevlar vests off, you know? You need cotton. Cotton does the job. You don't need anything to stop bullets. Okay. Does Kevlar even stop the bullets anyway? Don't use it. No more ceramic plates. Just cotton. Just use cotton. Plus, if you start bleeding, you can just put the cotton on the bullet wound. It'll be fine. What is happening right now? He's at a disaster relief site, man. You are doing a press briefing after a hurricane that hit an area that it was not supposed to at all. Okay, what the hell is going on? Sometimes I really do believe that, you know, Republicans just do bad things on purpose. Sometimes I do unironically feel like Trump will just advocate for a thing because he knows it's bad. Like, he's just like, I know this is going to not be a good thing for people. I know this is going to be harmful for big swaths of the population, and that's why I'm advocating for it. I don't even get any material benefit out of it. You know what I mean? Like, the FEMA privatization one is like obviously old school. You know, Republicans love stuff like that. They've always vilified FEMA. Alex Jones used to talk about how, like, you know, FEMA black sites. Barack Obama smells like sulfur. He put me in a FEMA black site facility and had butt sex with me. You know, AlexJones.com, Infowars.com. He used to always say stuff like that. He's Mr. FEMA camp, right? Conservatives have basically always assumed that FEMA has like too much power, like libertarian conspiracy theorists, and have always talked about how like there's FEMA facilities being set up. There's a FEMA black site that was set up camp right down the street from me. There's black helicopters, attack helicopters in the neighborhood. I'm AlexJones.com, Infowars.com, coming to you right now from a FEMA camp. I've infiltrated a FEMA death camp. Barack Obama's here. He smells like sulfur. He's trying to do butt stuff to me. Man.
In the beginning, it would have been a lot better situation. I think you guys agree with that, right? So I just want to say that Asheville, I know it well. It's a great place, so we're going to have it be a great place again. That was the one that was most severely affected. But North Carolina is going to come back bigger, better, stronger than ever before. And you're going to be very thankful. And you've already seen, I know that it really began 4 days ago, but you've already seen more action than you have in the last 3 months. And we're going to get it together. We're informing the Army Corps of Engineers to get going because you have a lot of river breaks and a lot of areas that you're going to need some pretty big work. And they're on their way. They're going to be working very much harder than they've been working in the past, and we're going to take care of it. Any questions from the press of any of the...
No, there's going to be questions, all right. Once again, when stuff like this happens, I just look out. I just turn around and I look back, and I remember that I'm in Tokyo, and it makes me feel good for a brief moment, you know? While everything seems awful, while the world seems horrifying, and, you know, Donald Trump is talking about cutting FEMA at the site of a, you know, massively consequential hurricane relief effort. At least I'm in Tokyo, you know?
Congressman, governor, anybody?
Sir, are you going to sign an executive order on FEMA, getting rid of it? Can you say more about signing an executive order to get rid of FEMA, please?
FEMA has been a very big disappointment. They cost a tremendous amount of money. It's very bureaucratic, and it's very slow. Other than that, we're very happy with them. Okay? And I think when there's a problem with the state, I think that problem should be taken care of by the state. That's what we have states for. They take care of problems. And a governor can handle something very quickly. You know, one of the things I've noticed, because I've been doing this for a while, and we had a pretty good FEMA, but I also noticed that when they come, they end up in arguments, they're fighting all the time over who does what. It's just not a good system. This system is so beautifully designed over 250 years approximately, you know, and we'll soon be celebrating the 250th year. It's going to be a very big celebration. But it's been designed very well, and we're going to leave it that way. When North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, and everybody knows the governor of Tennessee, I think, everybody. Do you know everybody here, pretty much? I never thought of it, but you're right over the ridge.
Right over the
So you're here to help. That's great.
The people in this region, including Tennessee, the people of Appalachia, are grateful that you are here and that you haven't forgotten them. And that there are other disasters, but this one was enormous for both North Carolina and Tennessee. So thank you.
You know, I've seen a lot of disasters. When I came here right after.
He's seen all the disasters.
And when I came here, I couldn't believe it. Actually, I couldn't believe the damage. And I've seen a lot of them. This was more like a tornado than it was what we witnessed. So we're going to get it very much taken care of. Good job. That's nice that you came. And so you call it right. You're right over the ridge, right, Tennessee? Right over the ridge, yes. I like Tennessee too. Let's see, where did I get more votes, Tennessee or North Carolina? I hate to tell you, North Carolina, it was Tennessee.
There's one of the counties in this disaster that at 88% for you. So
88%, yeah, no, it's the people are just incredible people.
yeah.
So, do you have any questions, Press?
President, you talked about conditions being placed on aid to California, voter ID and the like. Are there any conditions that you're going to put on aid to North Carolina?
We're going to do a lot for North Carolina. You know, they've been very slow. I don't know why it's been so bad. This has been one of the worst I've seen. Katrina, of course, you know, was something that obviously that was a long time ago. That was not good. But this has been very slow. I don't know if that was for political reasons because they lost the state. You know, Biden lost the state. Maybe he felt he doesn't care. Maybe there were other reasons. I don't know. But this has been very slow. By any standard, this has been very slow. And we're gonna make up for lost time.
No conditions. You're going to push for aid.
Well, in California, I have a condition. In California, we want them to have voter ID so the people have a voice, because right now the people don't have a voice because you don't know who's voting, and it's very corrupt. And we also want them to release the water. If they released the water, they wouldn't have had a problem. If they released the water when I told them to, because I told them to do it 7 years ago, if they would have done it, you wouldn't have had the problem that you had. You might not have even had a fire. So, but here I don't have that. It's a different thing. You got hit by a storm. The people are incredible. They worked really well. Franklin was fantastic, and other groups. By the way, other groups came in that were also fantastic. And other states came in. Tennessee and a couple of others came in, and they really helped. That's the way it's supposed to be. No, this is a different kind of a thing.
Mr. President, have you decided how much funding you would allocate?
About what?
There's no way he can just whip around disaster relief funds, right? Dude, I think at the end of the day, usually they won't. Like, I mean, usually they will give like all the funds necessary, but I'm going to keep it very real with you. He can do whatever he wants. No, like, what are you going to do about it is kind of the attitude here. Like, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? Complain? Yeah. Donald Trump is like, who's going to stop him? Are you going to stop him? He's kind of the king. Yeah. Like, Congress does his bidding. Even Democrats are capitulating now. They're falling in line. I can't really foresee anything changing all that dramatically. My suspicion is that he plays this role of like politicizing disaster relief, but it's actually positive for the Republicans because their goal is to ultimately play politics with disaster relief to get like certain bills done, certain bills passed that they normally wouldn't be able to. You know what I mean? That's what I think. Why didn't Biden give enough disaster relief? That's not true. There wasn't like, I don't think, as far as I understand, I don't think there was any sort of limitation on disaster relief from Biden. That would be really funny though. No, I don't think the Democrats, look, I'm very critical of the Democrats, but I don't think they even remotely play that. Like they don't play that game at all. I would say that Republicans also end up giving the necessary funds. At least they have in the past, even under the Trump administration, where they've like talked about potentially tying like wildfire relief funds to something else. They end up doing it regardless. If I remember correctly, I think they did a clean bill last time after complaining and claiming that they were not going to. They still ended up doing it because, like, you know, these are still American citizens, man, at the end of the day. But I think this time around, maybe they'll use it to pass some, like, I don't know, some kind of like budget reconciliation, you know?
I have to see what it is.
It's a shift.
Travel with us to California. I wasn't thrilled, to be honest with you. And I saw him last night on television. It looks like he got hit with a baseball bat or something. What happened to him? Something happened to him. It looked like he got hit. It looked like he got beat around. But I'll ask Caroline to find out what happened to him. No, if he wanted to come out, I would have done that. But I don't know. Somebody said that he wanted to come on the plane, but I think he's staying back for the votes. There's some pretty good.
The one thing I'll say about Republicans is they talk a big talk about making the federal government teeny tiny and handing power back to the states, but they made almost no actually lasting progress to that end for a while. I think you have to remember that like some semblance of federal control is good, especially because that's where all the big contracts are, and that's where the big money is. So ultimately, I think that they still want to have some semblance of centralization so that they can end up offering massive contracts to their corporate benefactors. I think like the the argument about like giving power back to the states is for social issues, and it's only to like enforce the culture war agenda that like some Republicans care about. Oh, the background looks so cool. Tokyo sky's waking up now. Yeah, no, this is my favorite thing to do. Like, you know, I think this is one of the coolest aspects of streaming in Japan is that I get to have the entire Tokyo city city line behind me, and then you get to see it wake up in real time. You know what I mean? From 5 a.m. onward. It's kind of crazy. I woke up at 4. I could have just started at 11 a.m., which is wild. I'm gonna be real. Anything looks better than the same spot 7 days a week. You're rich enough to do this in New York every day. Why would I wake up at 6 a.m. in New York? Also, what is me being rich enough have to do with anything? I'm rich enough to do this in Tokyo too. I'm literally doing it. I don't get it. I don't understand why people always say this. This is the only community on the planet where this is like not only a pejorative, but like you know, it's the worst thing to be. You are so much chiller in Japan. I know, because it's awesome. Did you sleep at all? I did. I went to bed. I went to bed at like a relatively reasonable hour. I fell asleep on the cab home, and I immediately passed out, and I woke up at 4 a.m. like that, without an alarm clock or anything. You're rich enough to do this in Tulsa, Oklahoma? I am the real Tulsa king. It was really smart of you to move to Japan. Glad you got out. That's so funny. Yeah, I just live in a hotel now, like Kanye West.
Going on, yeah.
Mr. President, what is your timeline for getting rid of FEMA?
For this one.
You just talked about getting rid of FEMA. What timeline are you looking at, and how would you do that?
Well, we're looking here. Here, you're talking about. To start, we're going to start immediately. Timeline, and to finish, it's going to be a period of time. You know, people are also rebuilding their houses. How long does it take to build a house, right? It takes some time. And I want them to build houses bigger, better, nicer than they had before, so they can have, at least they get something out of this disaster. This was a real disaster. No, timeline will be fast. In terms of infrastructure, I think very fast. I want to thank Elon, because Elon was able to get us communication systems, as you know. Starlink. We had no communication.
Glaze. Dude, I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. You ask me all the time, Hassan, what do you think is the next step here? Okay, Hassan, what do you think the Democratic Party could do in this circumstance? Okay, if I am a competent Democratic Party and not the current Democratic Party, I'm saying like all of a sudden, let's say magically that the Democratic Party decided to be competent, every single day of the week, I would keep running the line over and over again that the Democrats are officially the anti-billionaire party going forward. Not fake, though. Like, actually sincerely become the anti-billionaire party, the anti-corporate oligarchy party. And every day of the week, you would just go, hey, isn't it weird how average Americans' interests are only served not when it actually pertains to their material realities, like the egg prices or rent or housing or any number of different things that they would actually want solved, but only when it comes to hating other Americans? Meanwhile, Donald Trump only seems to hear feedback and surround himself with the likes of literally liberal billionaires, like libtarded billionaires. You know what I mean? Like Sam Altman, the Oracle guy who looks like his skin is melting off his face. I keep forgetting his name. I don't know why it doesn't register in my mind. Larry Ellison, I think, right? Peter Thiel, Elon Musk. Isn't it strange how much control and power corporate oligarchs have over this country? Now, of course, you can turn around and say, well, you guys have your own version of that too. Like, I think that that's a valid statement. Democrats can say, we're not doing that anymore. Softabanku? Oh, yeah. Masayoshi-san. I mean, he's great because I'm a weeb. So SoftBank's billionaire CEO says he was put on Earth to create artificial superintelligence that is 10,000 times smarter than a human. I am super serious about it. Yeah. I'm a weeb, so I believe him.
First day I got here, I was asked by one of the people, one of the really great representatives.
Well, where would the money come from, smart guy? I don't know if you know this, but like money can't vote. Still people that are supposed to vote in at least the current Democratic administration. He's actually Korean. Wait, really?
Professionals that...
Isn't Masayoshi a Japanese name? Wait, am I being racist? Oh, he is Korean. Oh, well... I wasn't wrong. He's no. No, I was right, chat. No, I was right. He is Korean, but he's also he's Japanese. He's a Zainichi Korean. Yeah. God damn. Don't ever test my freaking weeb knowledge, dog. Don't do it, okay? He's Korean Japanese. Yeah. As a Korean, I've never heard that Korean name. No, Masayoshi is not a Korean name. It's a Japanese name. But Sun is not I don't think Sun is a Japanese last name. So yeah, say Sung Jung Yi. Sung Jung Yi is definitely Korean. Yeah. Busted out the Japanese calipers, dude. I'm just doing a little bit of skull science here. No, I just know which names are which. My bad, dude. No need to check the history on this guy's family. It's all G. We in Japan, no need to ruin it. Masayoshi-san was born as the second of 4 sons in Tosu in the eastern part of Saga Prefecture on the island of Kyushu in Japan. He's a third generation Zainichi Korean. Zainichi Koreans are ethnic Koreans with a permanent residency or citizenship in Japan. Son's grandfather, Sung Jung-kyung, moved from Daegu to Japan during the Japanese colonial period, where he worked as a miner. His father is Son Sam-hyun. His father and other Koreans illegally built their houses on the land that was owned by Japan National Railways, which caused them trouble with the authorities. His father raised pigs and chickens on that land and started an illegal sake business that eventually became successful enough for his family to become the first people to own a car in their town. His family eventually moved out of the neighborhood so their son could attend a better school. Son pursued his interest in business by securing a meeting with Japan McDonald's president Den Fujita. Taking his advice, Son began studying English and computer science. He went to the U.S., studied economics at Berkeley and computer science. At age 19, he became confident that computer technology would ignite the next commercial revolution by being impressed by a microchip featured in a magazine. Started a video game company called Unison World in Oakland, California. He later sold the company to an associate for close to $2 million, and the company was eventually acquired by Kyocera. Son used his family's adopted Japanese surname for much of his childhood. However, after he returned to Japan, Son decided to use his family's original Korean surname instead. Okay, his background doesn't seem that like... I think this guy made really solid and really sound investments. Like he got fairly lucky early on and was in the right place at the right time. And, you know, unironically, it doesn't seem like he was one of the, it doesn't seem like he was the type of dude who was like one of these like rich families or whatever that was a Japanese collaborator or something in the colonial times and then like fled to Japan, but then still ended up working and having an awesome amount of power inside of Korean politics or anything like that. He just was like a straight up black market, good old fashioned bootlegger. Respect his family, at least. I was expecting WeWork. Oh yeah, he lost a huge sum on it. Yeah, of course. I mean, these guys, yes. But once they have that much money, it doesn't matter. Yes, they can make bad investments as well and not really face a severe financial penalty. Or even if the financial penalty would be severe for the average person, it's not severe for them. He sold 5% of NVIDIA in 2019 right after investing in WeWork. Yeah, but again, fail upwards is my point. Like, it doesn't matter.
Is there any way you could get Starlink here? Because they had no communication whatsoever. And I called up Elon Musk, and he had, you know, hundreds of units brought here, like brought immediately. And it's hard to get. They couldn't get them before. And that made a lot of difference. I think it saved a lot of lives, actually. Yeah. Infrastructure-wise, we'll do it quickly.
Sir, can you just talk about how long you think it might take to get rid of FEMA? What's the timeline on that? If you're going to roll it back?
Yeah, I would say, look, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not really thinking about FEMA right now here. I'm thinking about Michael Watley, and I'm thinking about the 3 Congress people that you just heard from, and also the other people in Congress, and they'll be working with the governor. They'll be working with the governor, so that's what I see.
Change the subject real quickly. The Laken Riley Act was signed by Speaker Johnson yesterday. Right. When do you anticipate to sign that in
Well, we're honored by that. Laken Riley, I was there at the time, and we had a big meeting with the parents right after that horrible thing took place. And we have an act. You all know what that act represents. And it was a bipartisan bill. Many Democrats signed on to it. That's something that is a tribute to Laken, a beautiful young lady who was killed viciously by an illegal alien. And we passed a very powerful bill, and it was just approved, and we'll have a ceremony sometime very shortly. I'll be signing it. In other words, if you're asking, I will definitely be signing it. Okay? Yeah.
Mr. President, the security detail for Anthony Fauci was terminated last night, and I'm wondering if you have any comment on that.
About what?
The security detail for Anthony Fauci was terminated last night, sir. Do you have a comment?
No, I think,
This is so funny. Like, this type of stuff is so insane to me. I just don't, like, I don't, it's just, like, who is this for? Just red meat for the base. That's all this is. You know what I mean? Red meat for the base, baby.
When you work for government, at some point your security detail comes off. And, you can't have them forever. So I think it's very standard. If it would be for somebody else, you wouldn't be asking the question. The question is very fair. But, you work for government. We took some off other people, too. But you can't have a security detail for the rest of your life because you work for government. We'll see what happens. No. They all made a lot of money. They can hire their own security, too. All the people you're talking about, they can go out. I can give them some good numbers of very good security people. They can hire their own security. They all made a lot of money. Fauci made a lot of money. They all did. So if they, felt that strongly, I think that certainly I would not take responsibility.
North Carolina is a state that relies on trade and manufacturing. Are you going to have an announcement on new tariffs coming soon? Is there a timeline now?
Yeah, the tariffs are going to make our country rich. We're going to be a rich, rich country very soon. Tariffs are going to make it rich, and competence. We have common sense, competence, and tariffs. The word tariff is one of the most beautiful words in the dictionary.
Now, Jonathan Reynolds, the business secretary of the United Kingdom, said that there's an even trade between the U.S. and the U.K., so they shouldn't have tariffs. Does trade imbalances or a balanced trade affect tariffs and your decisions?
Yeah, unbalanced and balanced, and also deficits. With Canada, we lose $200 billion a year with Canada. That's because we allow them.
I love the beautiful word tariffs. Is the most beautiful word. It's so stupid. God damn, dude. I cannot. We got what, 6 days until 25% locked in for Canada and Mexico. And the reasoning is because of what? Drug deals? The reasoning is because Canada and Mexico is pouring fentanyl into this country. That's what he's saying. It's crazy, Have you had room service yet? I haven't eaten anything from room service, but I just ordered room service. I just ordered coffee from room service. Little Americano action.
To make cars, we allow them to take lumber. We don't need their cars. We don't need their lumber. We don't need their food products because we make this.
We don't need their lumber is so crazy. It's like the overwhelming majority of lumber that we use come from Canada. We definitely do need their lumber. I don't know why he's saying that we don't need their lumber. We especially need it right now because California needs to be rebuilt. So, the two things we need is hands for construction and lumber. Okay? The materials for construction and the people to do the construction. And Donald Trump is literally trying to cook both of those things. It's going to be wild.
Products right on the other side of the border. It's sort of crazy. So we've just allowed that, bad management has allowed it over the last 4 years in particular to become very imbalanced. And I said I call him Governor Trudeau, but he's Prime Minister Trudeau when he was Prime Minister. I asked him, why would we do that? Why? And he was unable to give me an answer. He said, I don't know. And I said, do you think it's fair that we're paying $200 billion to keep...
A chatter asks, can you say some things that you agree with the Donald? Yes. I agree with the fact that he recognized that TikTok was a powerful enough and popular enough tool for him to give it a stay of execution. I gave him credit for that. I also agree with the ceasefire. Like he was incredibly impactful in the ceasefire negotiation finally going through. That's true. Like that's 100% true. Okay. You can say the Joe Biden team went back and forth on the ceasefire conditions and negotiation or whatever, but ultimately it was literally Hamas is the ceasefire negotiation that Hamas had lined up since December, according to the Qatari Emir. Okay? Since December of last year. Not this last December. Sorry. 2023. December 2023. So for a year and change, the Biden administration did not push Israel to actually follow through on the ceasefire. Conditions set forth on the ceasefire by pressuring Israel. He just didn't do that. But Trump, for one reason or another, did. He applied that pressure through Steve Witkoff. Ceasefire, they kidnapped 60 Palestinians directly after, and they're still killing civilians. They're also unserious. Yeah, but you have to look at it from the perspective of like the Palestinian population not being bombed every single day in Gaza, because that was their experience. Also got to give them credit for deporting criminals. No, that one is actually kind of ridiculous, as I've talked about already. I'm a little bit confused on the details of like what the background is for the people that are being arrested for show for the most part by ICE right now, especially considering that like if you are a criminal undocumented, like you should go to jail. Do you think he'll lose in lose in 2026? What is happening? Like the midterms? You think that Donald Trump there's gonna be a special election for the presidency during the midterms? Like what's happening?
Canada going, and what would happen? I asked him, what would happen if we didn't do that, if we didn't subsidize Canada? He said, we'd be a failed nation. And I said, then you should be a state, because why are we paying all of that money to Canada when, we could use it ourselves, right? So we take care of their military. We're going to order about 40 Coast Guard big icebreakers, big ones. And all of a sudden, Canada wants a piece of the deal. They say, why are we doing that? I mean, I like doing that if they're a state, but I don't like doing that if they're a nation. Also, they've been very nasty to us on trade.
I don't like doing that
Canada's
if they're
been very, very bad.
I don't like doing that if they're a nation.
We'll see how it all works out.
I
would love to see Canada be the 51st state. The Canadian citizens, if that happened, would get a very big tax cut, tremendous tax cut, because they're very highly taxed. And you wouldn't have to worry about military. You wouldn't have to worry about many of the things. You'd have better health coverage. You'd have much better health coverage. So I think the people of Canada would like it, if it's explained. But just to start off, they'd have a massive tax cut, and they'd have a lot more business, because then we'd let business go to Canada routinely, and there'd be no tariffs. If we did that, there'd be no tariffs.
So the United Kingdom might be in a better spot then.
Great asset to the state. Talk a little bit about the way the Samaritan Purse has helped North Carolina.
Yes, once again, the first...
Reverend Franklin Graham has been a big part of Samaritan Purse and their aid to North Carolina. Just want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, Franklin Graham has been a big asset to the state. His father was a big asset to the state, to the country, both of them. I just think this. I think Franklin and other people that are doing what Franklin have done, but, I've known Franklin so long. He was at inauguration. He made a speech, beautiful prayer. He does a great job. And we made a big donation, and it was money well spent. Sometimes you make donations, it's not well spent. He's done a great job here. He's done a really great job. So I want to thank you. We're going to the site now, and one of the sites, and those that haven't seen it, you won't even believe it. But not enough work was done. We'll get it done fast. And I can speak for the Republican congressman. We're going to knock it out, right? We're going to knock it out. And I think we take it very personally, because North Carolina was very unfairly treated. Very, very unfairly treated. And it was obvious. It was too obvious. And we're going to make up for lost time. So thank you to the people of North Carolina. Thank you, everybody.
He's gonna chuck some towels at them. Trump goes after Newsom, says deportations are going very well. I've been telling the deficit is 70 billion, which is offset by the low price of the crude oil that Canada sells to the U.S. Hence why U.S. refiners are asking for an exemption on Canadian oil on the tariffs. Yeah, foreign aid has been halted. Politico was reporting that U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is freezing all foreign aid except to Israel and Egypt. Shocking. It's actually shocking because Ukraine is not a part of it. That's crazy. I love when people say, why Egypt? Not realizing that like Egypt is also another mechanism of pressure for America, like another actor. but I think that the congressional congressional allocation of all matter of lethal aid, military aid, and whatnot is still going to Ukraine.
Everybody, thank you very much. Thank you. North Carolina, it's been a horrible thing the way that's been allowed to fester, and we're going to get it fixed up. Should have been done months ago from the hurricane that took place almost 4 months ago. North Carolina's been treated very badly, so we're stopping there, and we're going to then go to Los Angeles and take a look at a fire that could have been put out if they let the water flow, but they didn't let the water flow, and they still haven't for whatever reason. So I think we're going to have a very interesting time. I think many of you are going with us. If you'd like to have a ride on the plane, we'd love to give it to you. I don't know, is he going? Is he going? I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. You know, because if he's going to be there, it would be cheaper, but I didn't invite him. Somebody did. Look, whatever it is, it is. He's a good man. I don't know what's going to happen. You never know in those things, but Pete's a very, very good man. I hope he makes it. I hope he makes it. I was very surprised that Collins and Murkowski would do that. And, of course, Mitch is always a no vote, I guess. It's Mitch a no vote? How about Mitch? What? Let's see what happens. I'm going to be watching it, and J.D. Vance, our vice president, is there, and he's going to be representing us very well. Taking place in a little while, and other than being a little bit cold, it's a beautiful day.
I see now what you were saying about Republicans campaigning all the time because Trump is constantly doing politics, even in situations like these that are theoretically supposed to be apolitical. So, yes, but also what I mean by that when they campaign all the time is not just this, right? Because what Trump is doing here in terms of like using normal government functions as a way to campaign is a little bit of a political faux pas. What I mean when I say Republicans campaign year round is something a little bit different than that. I'm talking about like the key issues that they care about. Republicans will never stop the faucet of propaganda lying about certain things, certain issues basically that they consider very important for their base to fully be on board with. Immigration, right? They have to, with regular frequency, lie about undocumented migrants presenting a threat. They have to do it over and over and over again, and that plays a role in their agenda. Now, part of that is because they know that, like, if they can get their base to believe that undocumented migrants are responsible for a massive amount of crimes, then they have a marginalized population that they can point the finger at, blame at. They can want to come over for breakfast. What, to your place? No, I'm streaming. I'm doing news for like the first 3-4 hours. Austin, I can't. There's no better time to say this than today. So the owner of TDA Gang's apartment just had another apartment seized by the city of Denver, the first in history. Denver shuts down apartment building a severe health hazard. Wait, CBZ management again? Wait, another Trendaragua managed apartment? I'm so confused. I'm confused. Does this mean that Trendaragua also took over this apartment complex as well? Denver and Aurora are different cities? No, I know that. I'm being sarcastic, chat. It's the same management company, surprisingly enough. I wonder why.
We're all for it. In fact, as you know, I just signed a pardon, and in the pardon we released 23 people that were unjustly put in, having to do with pro-life, and they will be released, and they'll be out very shortly. It was disgraceful.
Will you give Italy a break on tariffs?
Well, I like her very much. Let's see what happens. Everybody thought I was going to California. I said, no. I'm stopping in North Carolina first because they've been abused by what's happened. I mean, it's terrible. It should have been done. It should have been, a lot of things should have happened that didn't happen. So we're here. We're going to fix it out. We're working with the gentleman behind me, and you know who they are, and we're going to fix it. And we're going to fix it as fast as you can. It's a massive amount of damage. FEMA has really let us down, let country down, and I don't know if that's Biden's fault or whose fault it is, but we're going to take over and we're going to do a good job. We're going to assign Mr. Watley, who's fantastic, frankly, and the governor and everybody else that's going to work. We're going to supply the money, supply a lot of the money. Maybe you have to chip in something. you'll chip in a little something like maybe 25% or whatever. But we're going to get it done as quickly as we can. And we want to take care of the people of North Carolina. It's so interesting. Everybody's talking about California, and that's a mess. But I said, I'm not going to California until I stop in North Carolina. So here we are. We're going to go visit the site, and we're going to work with probably 3 of the congressmen, Republican congressmen, who've been fantastic, whose areas have been affected, and with Michael Watley, the governor, and whoever else is, we decide to get involved. Probably less FEMA, because FEMA just hasn't done the job. And we're looking at the whole concept of FEMA. I like, frankly, the concept when North Carolina gets hit, the governor takes care of it. When Florida gets hit, the governor takes care of it, meaning the state takes care of it. To have a group of people come in from an area that don't even know where they're going in order to solve immediately a problem is something that never worked for me. But this is probably one of the best examples.
This is truly an insane thing to say, I think. Like the idea that there shouldn't be federal disaster management is truly crazy. And it will actually cook red states. I don't know why. I don't know what he's thinking when he says stuff like this. Like, what happens in New Orleans? You know what I mean? I think he wants to privatize FEMA. Thinking it's just Homer's symbol monkey in there. No, you don't have to be particularly brilliant to undermine what remains of the American government's competence. Okay? I'm not saying he's brilliant, and I'm not saying that he's doing this in an incredibly smart way or anything like that. I mean, the machine is designed in a way that that austerity followed by privatization is always taking place, and he just gets to control the reins and market the process, and he's going to do that well, because as long as he can keep people paying attention, to whatever he wants them to pay attention to, like, trans people or undocumented immigrants or whatever, that are supposedly responsible for all of the issues that you're facing in American society, he can advocate to basically undermine FEMA, something that conservatives have wanted for quite some time, and then eventually down the line they can just completely privatize it. FEMA is already largely privatized, utilities, private insurance, etc. True.
Of it not working, and there's been some others like in Louisiana, etc.
Do you think Trump actually thinks he's doing something good with his policies? I don't. Sure, he probably does. Yeah, I think Republicans at the end of the day don't think that they're evil. I don't think anyone thinks that they're evil. You know what I mean?
So we're going to be doing something on FEMA that I think most people agree. I'd like to see the states take care of disasters. Let the state take care of the tornadoes and the hurricanes and all of the other things that happen. And I think you're going to find it a lot less expensive. You'll do it for less than half, and you're going to get a lot quicker response. So that seems to be the recommendation, but we'll be making that recommendation over the next couple of weeks. We're going to go to the site now, and we're going to figure out a plan for really demolition and cleaning, because not a lot's been done, and we're very disappointed in the Biden administration, but we're going to make up for lost time. And I said I'd do that, and this is about the earliest we could possibly be here, and we're honored to be here. This has been a great state. They're great people, and they've really been mishandled. But this group is going to be great, and we're going to get it taken care of. Any questions?
How will you respond?
Do you expect to ask Congress for additional aid for North Carolina and California?
It will be direct. In other words, the aid will go through us. So rather than going through FEMA, it will go through us. And I think maybe this is a good place to start. Because, and in all fairness to the governor, and in all fairness to everybody else, FEMA was not on the ball. And we're going to turn it all around. Yes.
A lot of Americans think that this is symbolic of what your campaign was all about. America first, putting your priorities to Americans, even going to California where their policies might have been one of the biggest reasons why they've had these problems. But you're putting the American people first. Your thoughts on that?
This is Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend, by the way. If you want to understand how much the situation has devolved, that is Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend, who I believe works at One America News Network. It's so cool that right-wing reporters, like even Democrats don't do this. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, sure. Liberal media lies. Liberal media lies all the time. Liberal media also omits key details that you can see with your own two eyes, like Biden's diminished brain capacity. But even liberal media doesn't go like, Mr. Biden, sir, seems that you have an incredible stroke game. What do you have to say about that? Right? Like, this is the Republican and right-wing media in general is so crazy because they just come up to Trump and they're like, Mr. God King Trump, sir, it seems you are the greatest president of all time and everybody knows it. And the naysayers are actually just simply haters. What do you have to say about that? Like, that's not a question, dude. I barely heard it over the gargling noises that you were making while you were spitting on it. It's crazy. It doesn't make like thank you. Thank you for the journalism, Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend.
We are. Thank you. I like that question. Boy, I want more.
Well, dude, look at that. Yeah, he loves it.
Questions like that. That's even a statement. Thank you very much. He's a good man, that guy. And he's also a very professional reporter, I have to say. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're putting America first. We're putting, in this case, North Carolina and California. We're going to do a good job in California. That is a disaster like, I don't know if we've ever seen anything like it, frankly. They say the biggest in the history of California. I think, has anything bigger than that happened in the whole country ever? It looks like, I don't want to say what it looks like, but you know what I'm going to say. It looks like something hit it, and we won't talk about what.
You're joking, right? The scripted questions, list of questions they won't answer, softballs about Biden's favorite ice cream to say it's not done by both sides a joke. Dude, in a longer interview that Biden Biden gave very limited interviews. And of course they control it. And so does Donald Trump. Every politician, unfortunately, has a tremendous amount of power when they're giving interviews. Because what our media does now is access journalism, okay? As far as like the way that even liberal media operates, they'll ask softball questions, yes, like in between some other questions that they're asking that are within the confines of permissibility, right? Within whatever the PR people have decided is acceptable to ask. But the equivalent of this on the Biden camp would literally be like a CNN journalist coming in and being like, sir, like instead of omitting the fact that his brain capacity is diminished, which they are doing, which I think is a lie by omission, it would literally be asking a question to Biden as like Jake Tapper asked a question to Biden, and the question isn't a question at all. And it's simply, Mr. President, many people have decided that your brain is working the best. It's working better than anyone else's brain has ever worked. What do you have to say to that? Okay? Like, at least there's the decency. It's not good, right? It's still unacceptable. But at least, like, liberal media has the decency not to genuflect this hard. They do access journalism, which is still ridiculous. But this level of glaze is crazy, dude. Yeah. The difference is the right wing go out of their way to give him easy questions. Not even just easy questions. Sometimes they don't even ask questions at all. They just dick ride. It's crazy. Whereas at least with liberal media, there's still like a veneer of professionalism and like some kind of like aesthetic divergence or aesthetic independence rather from the press office and the press itself. It's the same principle behind like what I was saying, where like liberals choose still to do manufacturing consent. Both parties are invested in empire and the continuation of it. Okay. But liberals at least still choose to do manufactured consent, use like civil society organizations and NGOs to create reasonable ground for why they must invade a place, you know what I mean? Or why they must destabilize a certain country. Republicans are like, we're going to do that because they're apes and they're barbaric and they're primitive and we must bomb them into oblivion. Even Trump recognized that that wasn't a question and a statement. Exactly. Even Trump was like, great question. We need more questions like this. You're a very handsome young man. I love questions like this. It's my favorite type of question to answer. which is not a question at all, and simply saying how incredible I am. You can make an argument that access journalists are worse because they appear legitimate, unlike this guy. To a certain degree, I understand what you're saying. But to the average American, I think that they just don't care. They think that that guy is also not just glazing Trump, but simply a professional journalist. So I know what you're saying. I think you're saying that because you're surrounded by liberals. And access journalists only impact liberals who personally believe that they're actually engaging in like serious journalism. Whereas this guy, liberals will look at it and go, oh, he's glazing Trump. But from the Republicans' perspective, they hear that guy and go, that's a real journalist. Republicans literally think that guy is a better journalist than, you know, any number of different like liberal journalists.
But it is a bad, bad situation. And I guess I'm going to meet with some government officials. But I mean, much more importantly, and in California, just to revert to it for a second, millions of gallons of water are waiting to be poured down through already the half pipes that are already built. I mean, they've been up for 40 years. And about 20 years ago, they turned off the water. And it's the water that comes from the Pacific Northwest. Some of it comes out of Canada, and it flows there, and it probably has flowed there for 1 million years. And they turned it off, and they routed out to the Pacific. And in the meantime, you don't have water in the hydrants. You don't have water in the sprinkler systems. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. And everyone's trying to figure out why aren't they turning it back. They say it's the Delta smelt. It's a fish, but I find that hard to believe. But we'll figure it out. And without doing that, you're going to continue to have problems.
Mr. President, what are you prepared to do, sir, if OPEC doesn't respond to your call to cut oil prices?
Well, we want to see OPEC cut the price of oil, and that will automatically stop the tragedy that's taking place in Ukraine. It's a butchering tragedy for both sides, by the way. A tremendous number of Russian soldiers are dead, tremendous number of Ukrainian soldiers, and a lot of people are dead from the bombing of the cities. But right now, it's just bullets whacking and hitting men, mostly men, almost in all cases men. And over 1 million men are killed, and they're losing thousands of people a week. It's crazy. It's a crazy war, and it never would have happened if I was president. Would never have happened. This is crazy that it happened, but we want to stop it. Now, one way to stop it quickly...
Mr. President, you said day one you'd be ending the war in Ukraine. It has now been 4 days. When will you be ending the war in Ukraine? We are waiting. I mean, we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. I said this before. I just don't suspect Donald Trump taking like a super significant sidestep from American foreign policy on Ukraine. And I also don't even think he took a super serious sidestep from American foreign policy on Israel. I think the grand design is still in motion for the region. I just think that he understood that you have to pressure Israel to dial it back on its genocide in Gaza, at least for the time being, if you want to eventually focus on the West Bank operations. Having said that, when people go, you're wrong, the war won't last more than 6 more months. Okay, so this is a great point. Okay, you're not wrong about this. Like, I understand where you're coming from with this, but my point is that is also uniparty. Ukraine only ends because there are no more men to fight it. Okay, like the Ukraine war ends when everybody comes to terms with the reality that Ukraine simply does not have more men to throw into the meat grinder. Okay? That's it. When they have to make a very devastating, politically crippling decision that where they have to decide, like, do we just start, killing 18-year-olds in trench warfare, or do we allow a future generation? Do we allow Ukraine to exist in the future, basically? And I think we're close to that point, at least as far as what I've seen. Like, we're close to, like, when you look at Ukrainian polling on, especially in the aftermath of like conscriptions that began, like forced conscriptions that began in Ukraine, it does seem like either Trump and all of the other like European allies start using ICE or their version of like police to forcibly apprehend and send back Ukrainian men that have left Ukraine, and then they're forced into conscription, right? Or basically they realize that it's no longer feasible. But America's interest in Ukraine does not change. I'm still mad at you for saying that Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend is more impactful than motherfuckers who run operations that seem legit and launder Trump's policies. Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend is more impactful? Wait, when? When did I say that? I don't know what you mean by that. If a world war broke out, do you think there would be a draft mandatory? And would the rich still escape the draft? Yes. The rich will always be able to escape the draft. Don't be crazy now. It's so funny seeing the contrast between how leftists will have hours-long debates about how to communicate their ideas about the Overton window or Gramsci. Leftists will write entire books about how most effectively to talk to the masses. Meanwhile, you have this guy being president while just saying the first stupid lie that comes to mind in the most unhinged manner. Yeah, but that works. It especially is successful. It's much harder to tell the truth. It's much easier to tell a lie. That's just the case. That's always been the case, though, especially if that lie is backed by pre-existing forms of oppressive constructs. That's why many right-wingers can, especially smart ones, can present themselves as intellectuals, say stuff like facts over feelings, right? When in fact they're actually simply putting their feelings over facts. They can do that because the pre-existing social hierarchies benefit their argument. That's why Ben Shapiro can point to like police brutality, for example, as a necessity, because that is the established idea that many people have already. Are we just outnumbered by stupid people now? What if it's hopeless? First of all, we've always been outnumbered by stupid people. I'm a stupid person myself. I think everyone is stupid. That's number one. Number two, that's always been the case, okay? It's just, that's always been the case. There's no, like, what? I think one of the biggest problems is not necessarily that people are stupid, because everyone is stupid. One of the biggest problems is that people are not self-interested. And I know that comes across weird because Americans are so selfish, but I think Americans are so invested in this hyper-individualist American entitlement-focused attitude that they literally advocate against their best interests. An argument that I make all the time, and I used to during like the COVID stimmies, when people would come into my chat and say, Hassan, I feel selfish for like taking these COVID stimmies. I feel like I don't need it. There are people who need it more. I was like, dude, what are you saying? Do you think a rich man has ever said, please don't give me stimmies? How do you think how subsidies work? They demand it. They demand it all the time, and they get it by the billions. They get it by the billions through their legal structure. And when they don't get more billions that they want, they yell at the government and they punish the government. Okay? Americans that advocate against unions, for example, advocate against their best interests. If you are a worker and you don't want a mechanism to bargain, a fairer contract, to take more of the value that you're creating back and put it in your pocket in the form of benefits, in the form of more autonomy, then you are quite literally advocating against your best interests. That's it. That's it. That's just the way I see it. So it's not necessarily stupidity that is a problem here. I think it's the fact that Americans have by and large been so captive by pro-corporate, pro-capitalist sentiment that they just genuinely, with regular frequency, advocate against their best interest and mistake that for virtue too. Liberals do this to a certain degree as well. A lot of liberals look to the Democratic Party's incompetence and say, or the Democratic Party's like unpopular policy-making strategies and say, no, you fool, you simpleton, you simply do not understand. They're just behaving like adults. That's why it's unpopular. Good legislation is supposed to be unpopular. Good legislation is supposed to be bipartisan. Meanwhile, the Republicans never actually worry about bipartisanship ever when they're, pushing their agenda. What is bipartisan about? Politicizing disaster relief, for example. Nothing. Popular does not necessarily mean best. Well, good for us. A lot of the stuff that are popular, a lot of things that are popular are good for the people too. Business owners will always be anti-union. You said that intellectuals are stupid people. Do you think people like Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro are just dumb or evil? I think Ben Shapiro is smart. I don't think Charlie Kirk is all that smart, but yes, I think both of them are definitely evil to a certain degree. I think if you are doing right-wing propaganda endlessly, there is a level of evil in you. While I don't believe that anyone is truly good or bad or operate off of that dynamic at all, and that we are all still victim to our social conditions. Okay, we're also still very malleable. I would say that I would say that the propagandists in particular, I think, are people who I have a different opinion on. Like if you're Tucker Carlson, like I just don't think that there is, like I can't be charitable to you. If you're Tucker Carlson, I don't think you're redeemable, at least in the interim, in the short term.
For OPEC to stop making so much money and to drop the price of oil because they have it nice and high. And if you have it high, that war's not going to end so easily. So OPEC ought to get on the ball and they ought to drop the price of oil, and that war will stop right away.
Mr. President, funding to Los Angeles because of its sanctuary city policy?
I want to see two things in Los Angeles: voter ID, so that the people have a chance to vote, and I want to see the water be released and come down into Los Angeles and throughout the state. Those are the two things. After that, I will be the greatest president that California has ever seen. I want the water to come down.
A banger, John Steinbeck quote: "Everyone should read Grapes of Wrath." Yeah, Grapes of Wrath is incredible. I think it is I would say Grapes of Wrath and Steinbeck was definitely. I think it definitely played a radicalizing. I think it definitely played a radicalizing role in my understanding. John Steinbeck says, "And the great owners who must lose their land in an upheaval, the great owners with access to history, with eyes that read history and that know the great fact, when property accumulates in too few hands, it is taken away. And that companion fact, when a majority of the people are hungry and cold, they will take by force what they need. And the little screaming fact that sounds through all history, repression works only to strengthen and knit the repressed." So this is why wealthy libertarians call welfare riot tax. Okay, wealthy people consider welfare to be riot tax, just so you understand. The great owners ignored the three cries of history. The land fell into fewer hands. The number of the dispossessed increased. And every effort of the great owners was directed at repression. This could be Mao writing this, by the way. Well, I mean, his writing wasn't as... I would say that Mao was maybe a simpler writer than Steinbeck. But the attitude in terms of... The attitude... or the wealth accumulation, especially the consolidation of land in private hands, is basically the exact same as what Mao had also talked about. The money was spent for arms, for gas to protect the great holdings, and spies were sent to catch the murmuring of revolt so that it might be stamped out. The changing economy was ignored, plans for the change ignored, and only means to destroy revolt were considered, while the causes of revolt went on. What do you think makes the world leaders seemingly give Trump much more leeway and let him do more than more official presidents like Biden? I think all world leaders understand that, like, America at the end of the day is still the most powerful country in the world, although its power is waning on the global stage. So it doesn't matter if it was Donald Trump or Joe Biden. Any American president that operates in this belligerent manner is still going to, in the interim, in the short term, cause our global network of partners to comply. Okay? Through niceties or by force, it does not matter. They will always comply. I mean, look at Israel. Biden is incompetent as hell. Okay? The ICC decisions come down for Benjamin Netanyahu's arrest. Okay? Guess what happens in that process? Poland said, Benjamin Netanyahu could come to Poland. We are going to violate the ICC. It makes the court completely neutered. Okay? It makes the court a bankrupt institution. If it's only there to arrest African warlords, okay, and African politicians, then it's not a real institution at all. The ICC's backbone is Rome Statute and the very fact that the European powers will maintain its legitimacy. So when you have Germany, which is the most significant defender of the ICC, okay, when you have even, you know, German leadership talking out of both sides of their mouth with respect to like whether or not they will actually arrest Benjamin Netanyahu or not, you start to realize that no, they are just servants of American empire, servants of the American state, which is something that we knew already. And what's important to understand about that is, or the reason why I'm bringing this up in the process of like Donald Trump versus Biden is because they made these decisions under the Biden leadership, right? So it's not like Western leaders were not completely captive to whatever Biden's demands were. They were still very much servile. They still played their role. They still played the role of a loyal servant of empire, right? They did that. And that's it. That's how it works.
And also go out to all the farmland that's barren and dry. You know, they have land that they say is the equivalent of the land in Iowa, which is about as good as there is anywhere on earth.
It's now officially morning in Japan.
Because they artificially stop the water from going onto the land. So I want two things. I want voter ID for the people of California, and they all want it. Right now, you don't have voter ID. People want to have voter identification. You want to have proof of citizenship. Ideally, you have one-day voting, but I just want voter ID as a start. And I want the water to be released, and they're going to get a lot of help from the U.S. Thank you very much. I'll see you in a little while. We'll see you at the site. We'll see you at the site.
You tell us more about the deportation flights. Where are they going from? Where are they going to?
Deportation's going very well. We're getting the bad, hard criminals out. These are murderers. These are people that have been as bad as you get, as bad as anybody you've seen. We're taking them out first. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
Sorry, I'm gonna go pee.
Despite President Trump's criticism of FEMA, its voucher program has helped thousands of people in the state find shelter. But as Nina Durson found out, the sometimes confusing process to get assistance has left some there out in the cold or fearing another displacement. Let's take a look.
Another spot to kind of do some schoolwork and eat. We've got our second bathroom / closet. Yeah, yes.
Right now, this hotel room is home for Megan Stelchuk and her daughters. In September, the house they'd just moved into flooded in Hurricane Helene, and they bounced from shelter to shelter until a FEMA housing voucher came through.
We stayed at La Quinta there for a couple weeks, and then they said they didn't have any more vacancies for us. So we had to move over to the Comfort Suites, and then that hotel decided to not participate in the voucher program any longer.
They've lived in this hotel for the past month, but her voucher is set to expire on February 7th.
I'm terrified that I'll wake up and, you know, I'll just like get a phone call and it'll be like, yeah, your voucher's no longer active. It makes it hard to breathe. It's very difficult to sleep. It's the most, you know, disabling feeling I've, you know, ever felt.
The voucher is through FEMA's Transitional Sheltering Assistance Program. The agency says almost 13,000 households have used the program in Western North Carolina since Helene, and benefits have repeatedly been extended. FEMA says it reassesses the need every 2 weeks, a process displaced residents say has been confusing and stressful.
I can't tell you how many hours I've spent down there thinking that I was making some progress here, you know, because I am really limited on funds. I'm trying to like properly, you know, make sure that.
What do we think? Should I actually close the curtains now? Is it too like red? Is the lighting too like blown out and weird? I think it's about that time. I'm just too backlit. Like it's fine now. See, it's fine now, but only if I stand like right here. I tried to turn on another light to add an additional light source, but no, the view outweighs the light. I think it's fine. It's not like terrible. Completely off topic, not trying to be parasocial, but I don't know if you're aware you can rent a proper computer chair while you're in Japan. They deliver, talk to your concierge. No, it's fine. I'll be all right. Your crayon box orange. Yeah, I know. Why is that building narrow towards the bottom? It is. It's weird design. It just like expands again. Yeah, it's got a low taper fade. How's the public transit in Japan? Amazing. The public transit in Japan is fantastic. It's amazing. We took it yesterday a bunch. It was great. I loved it. Fantastic time.
I'm filing correctly, so that I can get the assistance that, really, really need.
Stelchuk says she relies on updates from Mira and Brian Williams. They own the Blue Ridge Tourist Court, where she and other storm victims have been living.
Access to information for us as hotel owners is a little more straightforward. We're able to speak directly to the third party that oversees the FEMA voucher program. So we have a direct line to them that I'm not sure the displaced people do have.
How long do you think you're going to be able to be a participant in this program?
I think it depends on how long FEMA keeps the program active.
FEMA's relief program in North Carolina has drawn a lot of criticism. False claims went so viral, the agency had to create a rumor page to debunk misleading information. In a letter to the governor Sunday, FEMA said the voucher program is approved until the end of March and is still supporting over 2,700 people. The agency says it will call anyone whose voucher may become ineligible and give 3 weeks.
Is it hard to navigate a city like that without knowing the language? No. I mean, yes and no. It's supposed to be, but it's not really. And the only reason why it's not that hard is because of Google Maps. Incredibly valuable resource.
Weeks notice instead of 7 days. But Leanne Boland says she never heard from anyone at FEMA before the hotel where she stayed told her that her voucher expired.
They knocked on my door on the 13th and said, FEMA just sent us an email saying that tonight is the last night they're going to pay for you.
She filed for FEMA assistance as a household with her boyfriend at the time and says she was told she could change it to an individual claim later. She says FEMA ended the voucher for the household 10 days ago, but she hasn't been able to get help filing for benefits as an individual. You haven't been able to get a hold of anyone to untangle that situation?
Nope.
Since then?
No, I've called nothing.
Out of money, she had to move out of the hotel and take everything to a campground.
We got donated a camper, not from FEMA. FEMA sucks.
With the area already crunched for affordable housing and temperatures now in the single digits, displaced residents fear they'll have nowhere to go and that they've been forgotten.
I guess we're just mountain people that nobody cares about, that nobody tells their story or nothing about how bad it is here.
You're feeling left behind.
Very much so. I mean, we're just thrown out like garbage.
I hope that we haven't been left behind. There's got to be a better way. I mean, I don't know it, but there's got to be.
FEMA told us they are still here and they are encouraging anyone who still needs aid to apply for it if they haven't received it. They insisted that they have been notifying applicants if their eligibility status for these vouchers has changed. But locals told us this is really an issue of people slipping through the cracks because of bad communication. Mina Durson, CNN, Boone, North Carolina.
With us now is Zeb Smathers. He's the mayor of Canton, North Carolina, just west of Asheville. It was hit hard by Hurricane Helene. Mayor, it's great to see you again and get an update, just first of all, on the recovery efforts in your town.
Well, we're making progress, and Canton, just like every community in West North Carolina, we're still here. Our people are continuing to show grit and grace across the region, over 30 counties. The amount of help and prayers from across the nation, both in politically, from California to the Carolinas, you see people having our backs. But at the end of the day, the grit and grace of people that have lost so much, their homes, their businesses, their loved ones, they're finding a way. These are tough times, but West North Carolina, we just simply have tougher people.
Now, I know it's not clear yet whether or not you will actually get to meet with President Trump or see him in person, but what would your message to him be?
Well, first off, we're honored to have the president in West North Carolina. Opportunities like this. One fear we have in this region is that we're going to be left behind. And these people, their setbacks, their successes, they're just as important as anywhere else in this country. And so I think to have the president here and to tell our story is important so people don't forget about us. But again, I hope the president, steps back and sees this as an American success story. We have a long way to go. But this doesn't fit in political boxes. You have Democrats and Republicans, independents, different religions. No one's checking voter ID cards. What you're seeing is the best of North Carolina and the best of America, people that are coming together and getting results done. And so there's a time for politics. Obviously, the president, as any politician, has a time and place for that. But I think what he'll see today when he meets with these families is a region fighting its way back. Challenges lie ahead. But again, if you give the people of the mountains the resources and the respect they deserve, we're going to find a way.
And we've been showing a lot of pictures of some of the destruction and the recovery efforts, some of which you provided yourself. It's just a reminder of how bad things were there. And it is good to hear that you're making progress. You've got some frustrations with FEMA. What are they?
Well, I mean, again, we've seen FEMA step up. I think it's been a better result this time than what Canton and Haywood County worked through in 2021 when Tropical Storm Fred hit us. But again, it's
weren't these people threatening FEMA workers in the area? Okay, listen, that is a separate issue. Okay, there was a lot of, I talked about this before, but in times of disaster relief efforts, there needs to be tight and solid logistics. Obviously, FEMA is coordinating all of that to the best of its ability. And it's not like every single person was attacking FEMA, but there were definitely a lot of weirdos that went into the area, sometimes from like Florida too, or Ohio, ironically enough. Like there were militias that went in, and some of those militias were opportunists. Some of those militias maybe genuinely wanted to extend a helping hand, but it doesn't matter what the intention was. Both still actually interfered in the affairs of disaster relief. Like one of the examples that we used, and I consistently talked about at the time, was people going into staging areas, finding out where staging areas were, and just bringing their own supply to that area, right? And then sometimes you would have a helicopter that actually has to quickly deliver a generator, right? But if the staging area where the helicopter is supposed to land is now covered with like toilet paper from kind-hearted individuals who just simply want to help, but haven't coordinated with like the proper authorities, then all of a sudden you're going to have issues. And then people would film, other opportunists would end up filming the, other opportunists would basically end up filming that process and go, oh, FEMA is actually out to like kill the American population. Because everyone's brain is just completely indented at this point. We have concave brains. But ultimately, it wasn't like the broad majority of Americans in North Carolina that were like, I hate FEMA. I hate FEMA. They're all bad. We're going to kill them. Like, that's not the case at all.
Communication, especially with housing. You know, I've seen, obviously, Governor Josh Stein, who will meet the president on the tarmac today, step up and work with housing, especially private roads and bridges. But again, we're hearing that frustration, and these people that are in hotels, sometimes, hours away from their home, finding a very efficient way to get them back on their property with trailers, cut through the regulations, cut through the red tape, and find a way. I think, when you're in local government, you start at yes until you have to say no. And so the inability to communicate, having people getting ready to get thrown out of their hotels an hour and then finding out it could be extended. I think Washington and Governor Stein have done a good job extending that now for months. People need that stability. Again, as I've said time and time again, other than the words "I love you," the most important word in the English language is home. And these people want to stay home. They want to rebuild. And cutting through that red tape, having FEMA as a partner. But also, in fairness to FEMA, it's not their job to do everything. We've seen so many community members, churches step up. It's a joint effort. I think FEMA has done some things well. There are some things that FEMA still needs to do. And so we'll continue to work with our federal partners, Democrats and Republicans, FEMA, whatever it takes, again, to give these people the respect and resources.
And again, we're looking at live pictures from Joint Base Andrews as President Trump arrives there to depart on this journey. Mayor Zeb Smathers, thank you for being with us. It's a long road back, as you say, but it is nice to know that you have made some steps on that road.
First wave of U.S. troops arriving at the southern border, part of President Trump's plan to crack down on immigration. Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce starts us off. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, George. Well, immigration was central to President Trump's campaign, and this morning his administration is eager to show he is following through, signing a flurry of executive orders sending troops to the southern border and highlighting ICE raids. Along the southern border this morning, signs of President Trump's long-promised crackdown on immigration.
Unironically, having ospreys anywhere near the southern border is infinitely more dangerous than a million Guatemalan migrants with AR-15s coming through, okay? Having multiple ospreys at the southern border, oh my lord, you're gonna kill so many goddamn soldiers, dude. That's crazy. Ospreys go one way, baby, and that's boom, okay? That's down. I'm literally in the country right now where famously one of them was downed like a couple months ago, okay? Ospreys are even worse than Black Hawks. No disrespect to Boeing, okay? It is a very cool looking craft, okay? It's a very cool looking aircraft. The reality of the matter is it has too many points of failure, okay? It is far too complicated to maintain, and it is far too complicated for upkeep, and therefore, because of its like insane design, they constantly fall and constantly kill soldiers, okay? They're incredibly expensive, and they kill soldiers all the time, okay? It does look cool. It's literally, I mean, look, I'm telling you, it is worse than the Black Hawks. Black Hawks, in many instances, fail due to user error. Okay, they have issues as well. But the Osprey is notorious. Like, I mean, dude, look at this. Look at this list, dude. Like, that's, dude. Like, that is a completely unacceptable number of incidents. Yeah, Ospreys escort Air Force One, I know. Yeah, when you get on an Osprey, you gotta pray, baby. It killed 31 people while in prototype stage. Feels bad, man. It can't auto-rotate like a helicopter. It can't glide like a plane. Yeah, it is the worst of both worlds, right? Helicopters are very dangerous and very scary, but at least they can auto-rotate. Planes are relatively safe and also can glide. Ospreys can't do either. And also, their design is so complicated that the maintenance and the upkeep is impossible. It is such a cooked aircraft. I do not understand why they still use it. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, other than somewhere along the way, Boeing got this contract. They made this design. I don't know if someone thought it looked cool or not. I don't know what the deal was there, because it does look cool. And the American military has just been using it in perpetuity. It's Bell. Boeing is technically the sub. A buddy of mine was killed in one, like in the earlier testing. It's still notoriously scary to be on. Yeah. November 2023, a CV-22B Osprey assigned to the U.S. Air Force's 353rd Special Operations Wing crashed in the East China Sea about 1 kilometer off Yukushima Island, Japan. On 29th of November 2023, killing all 8 airmen aboard. The Osprey, based in the Yokota Air Base in Western Tokyo, was flying from the Marine Corps A Station in Iwakuni in Yamaguchi Prefecture to the Kadena Air Base in Okinawa. Okay? Clear weather and light winds. Witnesses reported seeing the aircraft flying inverted, with flames engulfing the aircraft's left nacelle before an explosion occurred, and the aircraft subsequently crashed in the waters east of the island. And I think there was another crash, literally, yeah, here it is. Months before, an MV-22B Osprey belonging to the 1st Marine Aircraft Wing crashed on Melville Island, Australia on 27th August, killing 3 Marines. Nacelle. Wait, hold on. Where is one? Bro, watch Star Trek? I have not watched Star Trek. Nacelle. You should watch Deep Space Nine. Okay, stop. Oh my God. I know Star Trek is socialist. I know. I just haven't watched it. I just don't know. They got the rotor thing down and went not complicated enough. It should fold up like a Transformer 2. It looks sick. Like, I will give the American military credit for making a very cool looking aircraft. Okay? But it is a Marine killer through and through. Responsible for I mean, I guess like Black Hawks are more common, and even then Ospreys are per capita. I feel like Ospreys probably fall and have more accidents. Maybe I just have a selection bias.
As the 1,500 troops sent to the border begin their new mission, in the air and on the ground. Marines from California's Camp Pendleton now at the border wall with heavy trucks and concertina wire. ABC's Matt Rivers on the scene for their arrival.
So right there, part of the very first steps of the U.S. military being deployed down here, those taking off from Camp Pendleton, making their way down here to the U.S.-Mexico border.
The troops deployed to address what Trump has declared is a national emergency.
What exactly do you want them to be doing right now?
Making sure that the border is safe and secure and that criminals don't come into our country.
The surge in forces comes as the situation on the border has improved steadily since former President Biden announced new asylum restrictions last spring. Encounters between Border Patrol and migrants down 60%. Immigration a top issue in Trump's campaign. The White House now eager to show they're delivering. Across the country in major cities like Boston, New York, and Newark, some communities rattled by ICE raids. The Newark mayor saying he will not stand by idly while people are being unlawfully terrorized. Trump has promised the largest mass deportations in American history. But sources tell ABC News these appear to be routine immigration raids that have been customary for years. Trump has also signed an executive order to end birthright citizenship, even though it's protected by the 14th Amendment.
That's a good one. Birthright. That's a big one.
But yesterday, a federal judge in Washington temporarily halted the order. Judge John Kuhnauer, appointed by President Reagan, calling it blatantly unconstitutional.
Obviously, we'll appeal it. They put it before a certain judge in Seattle, I guess, right? And there's no surprises with that judge.
And President Trump is getting a boost from Congress for his immigration agenda, passing the Laken-Riley Act, which will require federal officials to detain migrants with a past of violent crimes, of course, named after the 22-year-old Georgia student who was killed by an undocumented migrant. That bill now making its way to the president's desk. It is set to be the first piece of legislation he signs in his second term, George.
And Mary, the president also says he's going to release any remaining files on the Kennedy and Martin Luther King assassinations.
The president yesterday signing an executive order to declassify all of the records related to these three assassinations that gripped the nation. President RFK, Senator Robert Kennedy, and Martin Luther King Jr. The president saying, quote, their families and the American people deserve transparency and truth. He is now giving the director of national intelligence just a few weeks to review and declassify this material. George.
Mary Bruce, thanks very much.
New images coming into CNN shedding light on the speed of President Trump implementing his immigration agenda. The White House has just released these images, migrants lined up, handcuffed, and led onto a military aircraft. We should note CNN cannot independently confirm the details because our crews were not there on the ground when these images were being captured. CNN White House correspondent Priscilla Alvarez is here to talk about this. Priscilla, what are we learning about these flights? And we should note, we were just showing this a few moments ago, those images were tweeted out or posted by the White House press secretary. So this is coming from the White House.
That's right. This is part of their show of force after the president signed his executive order declaring a national emergency at the U.S. southern border. Now, if we can bring the photos up again, because I do want to point out what's different here. It is the use of military aircraft that marks a difference from the way this was handled before. Now, you see there a line of migrants. They are arrested as they, or rather they are handcuffed as they are boarding the plane. That part of this is actually quite typical when it comes to immigration and customs enforcement and the way that they would board one of their deportation flights. But again, what is notable in this image is of that military aircraft. Now, I am getting some details from a Homeland Security official who tells me that it was about 75 to 80 migrants from Guatemala, and they were bound for Guatemala. We are now getting updates from an organization on the ground in Guatemala that is putting out stills of these arrivals. So this story is quickly developing. But in addition to that, we also know they were recent border crossers. So they were in Border Patrol custody, and they were in the El Paso sector. Now, the Pentagon has said that they were sending this military aircraft to El Paso and to San Diego. So we'll see if more of these flights continue. But Jim, just to broaden this out a little bit, the situation at the U.S. southern border is relatively quiet, far more than it was even over the last several months. So about 1,100 to 1,300 people crossing a day versus the 4,000, 6,000 and up that we were seeing in recent years. So this is an effort to really clamp down on the U.S. southern border, even as border crossings where they are right now are lower than they were in recent years.
Interesting. All right, Priscilla, stay with me. I want to bring in CNN contributor and New York Times journalist Lulu Garcia-Navarro. Lulu, good to see you. Your reaction to seeing these photos from the White House, they say that are military planes deployed for these deportations. And I guess one of the things that we should talk about, shouldn't the White House or the administration be giving some kind of access to independent journalists so we can witness this firsthand as opposed to getting these takeouts from the White House?
I mean, I think press access for this is going to be...
They're literally only going to give it to Fox News. The only time they've given exclusives on these raids is state media. That's it. They've only given it to Fox News. Interesting.
Very important. But I think we also need to really try and get context, understand what is happening and what is different than what we are seeing before. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, came out with a statement that said that they had arrested 538 people yesterday. And that is about double what we have seen previously. So indeed, we are now seeing stepped up enforcement.
This is a really good flex exercise, by the way. Put your foot on an elevated place like a couch. Put a pillow on the where your knee would land, and just push forward. Really good for your hip flexors, especially if you sit a lot. Because if you have lower back pain, oftentimes it's because your lower back is taking on too much of the weight of your upper body, and your hip flexors are probably too tight because you're sitting all the time. So putting them in an uncomfortable stretch position is a good thing. Let me see if I can show it. Hold on. Oop. I don't think I'll be able to show it. But put the pillow where your knee would land and put your foot on the chair and get down like this. Push in. And you can get a further rotation like this as well. Get a better stretch. Oh yeah. No way, bro's doing Bulgarians on vacation. I'm not doing Bulgarian split squats or anything. I mean, it's similar to that. This is just simply a stretch exercise, and the reason why I'm doing it because I sit and I have a little bit of lower back pain from bad posture, and that bad posture is most likely reinforced because I sit down all the time.
There has been some allegations that they are going into private places and not using warrants. That is illegal. So again, is that different? What are we seeing that is actually different? And that's going to be the thing that's going to tell us if this is actually effective, who they're targeting, and where are they targeting people. One of the concerns about this is that they're really going to be targeting people in blue cities and blue states. That is different than what we saw during the first Trump administration, where they were doing raids in North Dakota and red states and rural areas. This seems to be targeted in places that are blue states. So what does that tell us? Does that tell us that this is politically motivated, that they're trying to instill fear in immigrant communities in blue areas as opposed to red areas? You know, all of these things, as we're looking at this enforcement operation, we have to really think about what it means and what is the administration actually trying to achieve.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about what took place in Newark, New Jersey in just a few moments. But Lulu, I do want to ask you, the president has ordered the Pentagon to surge 1,500 active military troops to the southern border. We're also seeing these new images of military support away from the border. These are from Camp Pendleton in California. These are from New Mexico, some other images we can show you. And we're now learning that more soldiers are preparing for possible deployment to the border. And so, I mean, Lulu, this is something that, is a bit of a departure from what we've seen in the past, and that this is a very militarized looking deportation operation, mass deportation operation. What do you think?
I mean, this is very unusual. This is not the purview of the United States military. They don't have the training for it. But this is what the Trump administration is doing to try and bolster their capacity to deport people, because they haven't gotten more money from Congress for this. They don't have more ICE agents. And so they're trying to pull in other agencies to get involved in this deportation operation. But this is where I think the Trump administration has to be careful, because, recent polling shows that there's overwhelming support for deportation of illegal immigrants, immigrants that are here that don't have documentation. There is overwhelming support for deporting immigrants who have criminal convictions, but there is not overwhelming support for using the U.S. military. 62% of Americans oppose separating families, something that the administration says that they're going to do. 59% are against using the U.S. military. And so, this is not popular with the American people. So they have to be careful.
Yeah, and Priscilla, you were just saying a few moments ago that the numbers are down right now. So, I mean, I guess just to be a skeptic here, couldn't somebody ask the question, well, why not just use ICE resources here? Is the military being used here as part of a shock and awe sort of propaganda campaign?
Well, to Lulu's point, we have to identify what's different. And the U.S. military on the U.S. southern border is not different. There are already 2,200 active duty troops who were helping support the border mission. And now it's more of a numbers game. So sending more resources down to the U.S. southern border, our understanding is they don't have law enforcement authority. So what they're doing is a lot of assistance when it comes to operational readiness, augmenting air operations, and doing a lot of behind the scenes work when it comes to assessing intelligence. So we do have to discern that there is truth to the fact that the military was already there to assist Border Patrol because the resources provided by the federal government are strained and over the years have been overwhelmed. But what the Trump administration is doing is putting more of those Pentagon resources there as a show of force, as a show of them clamping down on the southern border. And even if numbers are low, what Trump officials want is for numbers to be zero.
Right. And Lulu, let's play some sound from some migrants who made the journey to the U.S.-Mexico border only to discover it's closed to asylum seekers. Let's listen to that.
Yeah, just for the record, this is all like, these aren't undocumented migrants, right? These are documented migrants that went through the process of documentation with the Customs and Border Patrol. Like, they did the proper, they went through the proper protocols. Like, they didn't, this isn't like the people, I don't know. I just, like, they're not, they did it legally, but they're brown, you know? So I guess this is where you're supposed to understand what this entire problem actually is, right? This is a perfect example of this. Another great example of this, like the idea that like undocumented migrants is basically just a catch-all terminology for brown and black migrants in general, that the American government does not, or at least like Republicans don't want in the country, was when J.D. Vance talked about the Haitians, the Haitian migrants that were fully documented, had temporary protected status, and were living in Springfield and contributing to the Springfield economy in meaningful ways. Right? Those guys weren't undocumented migrants, but they were called illegal aliens over and over again. Why were they called illegal aliens? Because the reality of the matter is both sides, and virtually everyone, every politician at least, understands the truth. The truth that there isn't any difference between an undocumented migrant and a documented U.S. citizen or a documented migrant in general. The only difference is paperwork, okay? That's the only difference. It's just paperwork. And obviously, the Republican Party has shown once again that that paperwork won't stop them from, changing their legal status and forcibly pushing them out of the country. That's it. So this conversation is not about violent crimes and the apprehension of violent criminals. Although there are, of course, undocumented migrants, just like natural-born U.S. citizens, or even documented immigrants that do crimes. They're human beings, after all. Every human being has the capacity to do violence. But the reality of the matter is that undocumented migrants and documented non-citizens, documented immigrants are responsible for significantly less crime per capita than natural-born U.S. citizens are. So that one is already, that concept is already built around a lie. And we also realize that the issue is not about the legal process in which people come into the country through, considering that this is also a legal process. So there's got to be a separate reason for why. There's got to be a separate reason for why they want to do these apprehensions. And I think it's because this is inherently white nativist. And it's not necessarily because these people that are at the top are card-carrying white nationalists who want to, who secretly say the 14 words or whatever. Some are like that. Stephen Miller. Okay. But I think many other people in power just simply use the pre-existing racism and white supremacist opinions to their advantage to consistently undermine the migrant workers coming into the country in an effort to maintain a two-tier labor structure, knowing full well that there is always going to be a flow of people that come in. And as long as they are kept undocumented, they can be easily swept away when companies see fit. Because if you truly, truly, truly wanted to address this issue, if you were a real racist, right? 100%, you're like, I am invested
in making America as white as possible, right? If you were a real racist, like a card-carrying racist, you wouldn't go after the undocumented migrants. I mean, you would down the line, but you would actually start off with the companies that hire undocumented migrants. And you would actually create very, very strict rules, not just simply a slap on the wrist, but very strict rules and very strict penalties for hiring undocumented migrants. Okay? Yes, the Oregon racism method. Exactly. When Oregon was designed, it was technically an abolitionist state. Why? Because people that moved to Oregon wanted it to be a white state, as in they did not want black people, even as slaves, to be around them. This is why slavery was not allowed in Oregon. If you're a real racist, that is the step that you would take. Like a real racist. You know what I'm saying? And that's precisely what I think shows the true intentions of the modern Republican Party. This isn't to say that they aren't racist. Of course they are, right? Many people are. At best, they're just careless about the livelihoods and the humanity of all of these people coming into the country from Latin American countries, from China, and many other places. But it's important to understand the true purpose of this. As long as you keep a steady flow of migration that is always going to happen because of our destabilizing efforts in Latin America and South America, and also because of climate change, creating ecological disaster, destroying agricultural work, and further destabilizing these already crippled economies, you are always going to have a steady flow of migrants coming into the United States of America. And you can't recognize their humanity, because if you recognize their humanity, more people will say, oh, we should just document them. I don't understand what the big deal is. Okay. And if you document them, then they have legal restitution. They have at least the same limited amount of legal means that the American documented worker has. Legal means to demand back pay, legal means to organize, unionize potentially down the line. But as long as you keep them undocumented and don't punish the corporations other than a simple slap on the wrist, like a little baby tap on the wrist, really, as long as companies can still churn out larger profit margins by hiring undocumented migrants while simultaneously paying the penalty after the fact when they call ICE on their own facilities, because numerous companies do this. It's especially ruthless in the poultry sector. Okay, as long as the penalties that you pay to the government is minuscule in comparison to the profits that you get from undocumented migrants rather than a documented labor force, they'll still keep doing it. And the only way to continue having this cycle is by beefing up a healthy dose of white nativist propaganda, constantly dehumanizing migrants, claiming that they are responsible for incredible crimes, violent crimes, heinous crimes all the time. Got footage from inside this event. They admit the bill is 100% meant to scare immigrants and beg the crowd to urgently convince your people to not leave Florida since folks in the agriculture industry are mad workers are leaving. The hypocrisy is so brazen and disgusting. This was last year when Ron DeSantis signed an anti-immigrant law in the state of Florida. The Republicans are getting nervous about the community backlash to their voting for DeSantis' anti-immigrant law. They are hosting this event to lie and spin. Folks should go and make sure these politicians hear from people who are angry about the damage they've done. The implications of the Florida law SB 1718. Here's what they said.
This bill is 100% supposed to scare you.
I don't know these are the Florida state representatives openly admitting that the bill is 100% meant to scare immigrants and beg the crowd to urgently convince your people to not leave Florida.
I'm a farmer, and the farmers are mad as hell. We are losing employees. They're already starting to move to Georgia and other states. It's urgent that you talk to all your people and convince them that you have resources, state representatives and other people that can explain the bill to you. We had the best president in my life the last 30 years, and I'm still supporting Donald Trump. I love my governor. He's the greatest governor. He's the greatest governor.
He was saying, like, don't worry. This is just this bill that we passed, okay, is just to scare immigrants. But you should tell your undocumented migrant workers, just as I have as a farmer, that, like, don't worry, they won't go away, okay? Don't worry, they won't go away. We'll protect them. And a time when they were fearful that the undocumented migrants were like, okay, well, I guess we're not working. You're a farmer? No, he's a farmer. He's saying, as a farmer and a member of the Republican state legislature in the state of Florida, as a person who voted for this anti-immigration bill, I'm telling you that it's purely to scare migrants. Ironically enough, I'm just as much as a farmer as that guy is, and I'm not a farmer at all. You know what I mean? Whenever people talk about farmers in the United States of America, what they're actually talking about are people who own the farm, not people who toil the land. Okay? When you're actually talking about the people working in the agricultural side of the business, it's almost entirely comprised of undocumented and documented migrant labor. Okay? Whether it be states like California or Texas or Florida, the overwhelming majority of the land is toiled by undocumented laborers and migrants in general, migrants who are also documented on work visas and migrant worker visas. This happened in Alabama in the past as well. If the government truly was operating on pure white nationalist sentiment, like, you know, neo-Nazi style, they would end up doing is actually punish the business owners. Like, if they truly wanted it to be uninhabitable for undocumented workers, then that's what they would do. That's what they would do. They would punish the business owners so that the business owners did not hire any undocumented laborers. Okay? If the penalty for a crime is actually cheaper than doing the crime itself, then you're basically saying, no, keep doing the crime. Okay? It might as well be called a like, what's a term I can use here? Like a reset fee. You might as well be just simply paying for ICE to come in and take out your labor force by force, and you're paying for that fee for them to come in and sweep your own workplace so that you can go and hire a new crop of undocumented migrants. And that's precisely how this works. Now, this is another thing that I've routinely talked about in terms of counter messaging. Support for immigration was rising steadily prior to 2021. The recent shift in opinion is a piece of a broader anti-Biden sentiment. Before his presidency collapsed, Biden also broadened the anti-immigrant consensus by convincing MSNBC viewers that restrictionist policy is good. The Democrats didn't engage in a healthy diet of pro-immigrant propaganda, right? Talking about the humanity of these immigrants and talking about how it would be better overall for the entire labor force if they were documented, for example, because they do work as a depressive, like, they're not monolithic. Undocumented migrants are not monolithic, but the way that they operate within the confines of the American labor structure is a depressive force on the wages of the documented labor force. Okay. So basically, if they had actually counter-messaged against the Republicans that they knew were going to routinely talk about the scourge of immigrants as a political tool that favors them, because it's one that they have often utilized over and over again, right? If they had done that, we wouldn't be in this situation, okay? We would not be in this current situation. We would not be experiencing untold levels of anti-immigrant sentiment, the likes we've never seen before. Review is blown up now. Yeah, I know. I'm gonna put the curtain on in a second. But here we are. Would you mind explaining how they depress wages? I believe you. I just want to understand better. I mean, easy. If you can get cheaper labor, you're always going to hire cheaper labor. Companies have one thing in mind, and that is to increase profit margins. Okay, and undocumented migrants, because they are not documented and have the proper paperwork, create multiple vectors of exploitation, open up multiple vectors of exploitation for companies, right? Number one, they're coming from poorer countries. Okay, so the currency exchange already favors the capital owners in that regard. They can get away with hiring them for cheaper wages in general, as opposed to the American natural-born citizen that wants to work at the same factory. And if you have a group of people that are, even if they were documented, are willing to take jobs for much cheaper, right? Then obviously the company is going to do that. They're going to hire the people that are going to work for cheaper. Now that's with the H-1B visas, for example, an additional vector of exploitation that is born out of the currency exchange rate that favors the American side, right? On top of that, there's also, for H-1B visas, for example, the fear of deportation if you lose your job. If you don't attain your job, especially because sponsorships are also expensive for the company too, to a certain degree, you will get deported. And in that process, you are willing to work longer hours and be, I guess, quote unquote, a more productive employee than the documented American laborer, who also has numerous points of pressure set upon them from, your employment being tied to your health care, or the student loan debts that they probably took on that they have to pay now, right? These are also additional points of pressure that exist for the American wage laborer, right? The documented American wage laborer. But on top of that, because of our supercharged profits and our endless interest for seeking out more profits overall, we not only abuse the American wage laborers, but we also look for additional, more abusable forms of labor, like H-1B visas or other visa structures, other migrant work visa structures. And that's usually what happens in Europe, by the way, right? Europe utilizes that as a way, and the currency exchange rate is a way to create a more exploitable pool of labor. But in America, we do this third thing where we have undocumented migrants on top of that who have no legal protections whatsoever, right? And they will work for even worse. They will work in even worse conditions, doing backbreaking labor for even lower wages, right? Because of all the factors that I just mentioned, and then some. So it is like endlessly hyper exploitative, right? You think you are making fun of me, but you are giving me a larger platform, haha. What? I have been listening to Hasanabi every day for the past 8 years, and I've come to the conclusion he only gets views because he's mildly handsome. If you take his opinions and put them in a short, fat guy's body, you would be like, what the fuck is he on? Well, thank you for saying I'm mildly attractive.
Damn, this guy's good.